Bienvenue dans Entourage, un podcast dédié aux talents qui œuvrent dans l'ombre de vos idoles. Moi, c'est Dasset, DJ, auteur-compositeur et manager-producteur d'artistes internationaux. Je vous entraîne à travers mon podcast dans les coulisses du succès. Comment gérer une star du rap, un acteur ou un footballeur de renommée nationale voire mondiale? Pour y répondre, j'invite chaque semaine des managers, avocats, agents, bref, l'entourage des stars, afin d'en savoir plus sur la face cachée de leur réussite. Cette masterclass hebdomadaire sur le leadership inspirera celles et ceux qui veulent exceller au quotidien dans l'accompagnement et la gestion des talents. Bonne écoute. So Adam, welcome to Entourage.
Merci.
In French, right?
In French.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good?
Et toi?
Je vais très bien, merci.
Okay.
Yes. So today is a very special day because we record from a special place. And I have to, big up one of my new brother because I've known him for a couple of, months only. But I have to say that Niza is like a brother now, to me.
Right.
So I have to thank him for, bringing me to you and you're in France. So that's, it's a great look. So you know about Entourage now.
Yes.
And so here we go. I want to hear the whole story of Adam Favors. Let's go.
Oh man.
Where were you born? Start from the beginning.
I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. Half Puerto Rican, half black. So I figure I got the best of both worlds, the best of the best music, best of the best cooking, best of the best looking women, best of everything.
That's true.
God blessed me twice. You know what I mean? So, and it's funny because I find myself lately telling people, and I literally told somebody this yesterday, when I was a kid, because I was a very shy kid.
Okay.
And like an introvert.
Right.
Because I was so shy. But my 4 things I've always loved as a kid has always been dogs, cars, girls, and music. Because music for me allowed me to express myself when I couldn't express myself. I would hear a song or something like that, and you got to remember I was born in 68, so I'm growing up during that time of, real musicians, real singers, real,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're thinking about you're coming out of the whole Motown phase. Then, like I said, me being born in the States, I was born during the time of, when it was real. So the civil rights movement was real strong, and it was still a lot of music that had messages in their music and protests. And, my mother, my mother always loved music. She always had music in the house, everything like that. Right. And my mother understood music to the point where she could have been a teacher. In a sense, not necessarily play an instrument, but more like a composer kind of type teacher.
Right.
Because I remember we would listen to songs and she would ask me, what do you hear? And I would tell her what I heard in the song. And she would be like, no, you're not listening. And then I said, okay, well, what do you mean? She said, because hear this song right here. That's a 3-part harmony. That's a 4-part harmony. Hear how the background doesn't tries to sing the leads. Listen how, when you hear songs, especially 70 songs, and you hear them and it's not really singing, they'll be ooh,
yeah.
And she goes, that's scanting. She goes, he's just basically, she goes, if you would look at it with a music teacher, they would just tell you that they're just running ranges, up and down. And it would be, she goes, but it adds to the song. And then she's but when it comes to a band, she goes, who do you think keeps the band together? So, me, of course, as a kid, it's always the guitar players that are always out in the front, and you see them and they're always cutting riffs and doing all the rest of the other stuff. She goes, he's not the conductor of the band. I said, what do you mean he's not the conductor of the band? He's the one out there and everybody's screaming and going crazy because She goes, no, the conductor of the band is the drummer. The drummer sets the tempo. The drummer decides what's going to happen with the band.
Right.
And I learned that at an early age.
How did you know all that?
Because she loved music. She loved music.
So she studied music on her own?
Never. She never. I think she just a love of it. She self-taught. Appreciation. You know what I mean? And
that's a gift.
We grew up in a house. Well, I grew up in a house where there was no, right now, music, how would I say it? With music right now, they kind of like categorize it. So it was never categorized in the house. Like I grew up listening to everything from Tower of Power to, you know, I remember when she played the hell out of David Bowie's Fame when I was a kid.
Right.
Fame, you know, and to Elton John, to whatever it was, to Hall & Oates, like up until I became grown, really like a teenager, you couldn't have told me Hall & Oates wasn't black because the way that they played him in the house.
Okay.
It was like,
that's interesting.
Yeah, you know, and it was about, and I think that that was during the era of when people didn't really care about the color of your skin per se. It was just, could you do the music? Could you legitimately sing the song? Did you legitimately have the talent? Like one of the biggest bands that I always remember that she brought into me and like really introduced me to was the Average White Band.
Right.
And if you listen to them and the way that they sang and excuse me, and the classics that they have, you would never believe that they were like, first of all, you wouldn't believe that they weren't American and that they were a band from Scotland that did R&B music.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so you turn around, you look at it, and I mean, they had classics, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it was. So it was like my appreciation for music became my voice, and it was always the one thing that really helped me, allow me to express myself. Like when I was, so then, you know, I fell in love with music. Like,
so basically it's coming from your mother, basically. It's all coming from your mother.
So it came from her. And then music has always been like that one thing that I could always, next to God, music was always that one thing I could always depend on. Truly depend on.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was like, you know, because if you're happy, there's songs for that. If you're going through it, there's songs for that. You got a heartbreak, there's songs for that. And it's always seeming like, because you know, when you're going through certain stuff in life, especially when you're really young, you feel like you're the only one going through it. Like nobody's ever been through this but you.
Exactly.
Like this all started with you. The heartbreak started with you. That overjoyed happiness starts with you. Everything started with you. And then you hear a song and you'll be like, oh, see, man, he's expressing or she's expressing or they're expressing exactly the way I felt. Or feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then from there, but it was funny, like sometimes as a kid, you don't understand, you know, and I would tell anybody that if you have kids, allow your kids to play instruments, encourage them to play instruments, because because you figure the world runs on a rhythm.
Yeah.
And then even babies naturally cool. Like, and they don't know music, but they'll be like, because it calms them. You know, it's a self-calming thing for them. And the reason I brought that up is because I remember she wanted me to play drums, but I wanted to play the guitar. And so because she wanted me to play drums, I became rebellious. So I didn't play. I was like, well, I can play guitar. I'm not going to play any of this. And so then, you know, what it was.
Nothing.
I ain't going to play nothing. You know, you ain't going to make me. You know, I don't care how many punishments you put me on. I ain't going to never play this stuff. But
I'm going to be a rock star or nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to be a guitar player. And that's it.
Yeah.
A guitar and bass. That's all I want to play. Yeah. But that was it. And so then.
So what happened next?
Basically what happened next, you know, I left Cleveland when I was 18. I moved to California.
On your own?
Yeah. Okay. On my own. So I moved out there. I mean, I had a grandmother that lived out there, and I had like some other relatives that lived there.
Why did you decide to move to California?
Because you know why? Growing up in Cleveland and a lot of cities that you may see, and I don't think it's just a U.S. thing. I think it may be a worldwide thing. Like the dreams that I had were bigger than the city could support.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the sense of I wanted to see France. I wanted to see the different places of the world I've been to. And then when I would tell like other people around me, like, yeah, I want to go see this. I want to do this. I want to do that. And they were like, why? Yeah. And I was like, well, cause man, it would be incredible to go see that. You start feeling like the weirdo.
It's very well, I won't say it's very American, but American like tend to believe that America is the world, basically. Like, you know, there's nothing interesting. Like, why would you go abroad? You know, like, you know, like America is enough. You know,
but it's that American propaganda that you're sold as a kid is basically you're indoctrinated indoctrinated into it as a child. Like, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Yeah.
Liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
Well, when you turn around, you look at the history of America, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the history of America, you see America wasn't liberty and justice for all. Because if it was people that look like me and you or whatever like that, it was a motherfucker. It was not a place that you really was like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So you turn around, you be like, you're fed this and nobody's better than us. This is what we do. We're the this, we're the that, we're the this, we're the that. And then, when you be like, the way it's presented is like all of Europe was the old world. You're the old, we're the new.
Yeah.
Why do we want to worry about the old?
Exactly.
We're the new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the fact that if you really look at the U.S. is a mono nation. Because if you look at it, we're bordered from Canada to the north, Mexico to the south, and 2 oceans on each side. So at the end of the day, you're dealing with 48 states, continental states.
Yeah, continental states.
So even though there's 50, but you're dealing with 48 that are that are attached, that are all pretty much different in a sense. So you be like, well, I can go to Miami or go down to Florida and get the warm weather on the beach, and I can get the kind of like Caribbean Latin flavor from there, or I can go up to Boston and get the New England kind of like Irish flavor from there.
Yeah.
I can go to the Midwest. I can go to California, which is so different from New York, and like it's a whole completely different world. So
each state is almost a country. Like,
Yeah.
Louisiana is a bit like France.
yeah.
and,
So like when you go into like Louisiana and the Gulf area, it's heavily influenced because, it was all a French territory at one time. So the food, all the rest of the other stuff. So you start looking at it like, well, I gotta leave. I got it all here,
Exactly.
And that's why, America sometimes feels the way that it feels. And you got to remember Hollywood is in America. So, they made a lot of movies where America was great and America came to save the day and all the rest of the other stuff like that.
It's still true today. It's still true today. Is that part of why you decided to move to California?
No, so the part of the reason what made me decide to move to California is, like I said again, is because, growing up in Cleveland, I saw what it was like early. Like typically you either after high school went to college, married your college sweetheart, came back home, bought a house, got a job,
and work for 40 years.
You work for 40 years,
retire.
maybe go on vacation sit around, your friends come over, maybe on the weekends, you do barbecues, whatever like that. You maybe go on a vacation every year and a half. And I was just like, that's not for me. There's more for life. My desires and what I want are bigger than that. Like, and I realized it early, and I'm like, and I'm the type of person that is, I don't need you to get it. I'm going to go get it myself.
Right.
I'll figure it out because I believe in me and I trust in God. So that's what it's going to be. Between the two of us, we ain't gonna lose, baby.
Yeah,
we ain't gonna lose. So
you moved to California, and then what happens there about?
So when I moved to California, and then I started realizing that California was like it was different. It was different compared to I didn't realize that it was as what's the word I'm looking for? I didn't realize it was as segregated,
right?
As it is,
yeah.
Because California on the low is actually very segregated. When you have between the blacks and the Mexicans, and you got to remember, I told you, I'm like half Puerto Rican and black. So the world I come from, we were all the same.
Yeah. So
when I go over there, then I'm like, and they're like, well, the blacks are here, the Mexicans are here, or whatever, and I'm like,
so how do you fit? Like, how do you find your place there? How do you?
To me, I always just fit in with those that I felt comfortable with.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be the Latino community.
Okay.
So all my friends, all my really, really true friends from California, the bulk of them are Latino. Most of them are Mexican.
Right.
And what happens is, like some of the blacks that I met in California were like different.
Right.
Like they were different than the blacks I had ever dealt with, like coming from the East Coast, I was just like, ooh, y'all a special breed. I understand why y'all.
What's so different?
Yeah, I was like, I understand why y'all don't get along with the Mexicans because y'all look different. Mexicans are more like the people that I grew up with back in, back in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Y'all a different breed over here.
Really?
You know what I mean? And I was just like, and then when I moved to California, during the height of the whole really gang situation between Crip and Blood and all the rest of the other stuff. And it wasn't my thing. I wasn't into that.
You've never been part of a gang.
No, I wasn't into that. I was just like, the thing about that to me was, I thought it was silly because I said, you don't like him because he wearing red, and you don't like him because he wearing blue.
Yeah.
Colors out of the rainbow, and y'all just upset. Y'all really like, but and knowing now it's deeper.
Yeah, of course it is.
When you coming from the outside in, like coming from the outside and looking in, you're like, this just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the first times when I had first moved to LA that I met this guy, this Crip, one time, and so then I'm walking up the street. And he's coming around the block. And then he's like, hey, homie, what set you from? Now, me, fresh from Cleveland, I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I thought when he said set, because I was like daydreaming or I wasn't really focused or paying.
Yeah.
So when he said set, I'm like, oh, shit, I done walked in the movie set. Because, if you go to LA, like they film on the streets a lot.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I think, oh, damn, I done walked into a movie set. Like, I'm over here where the camera's at. Like, you know what I mean? I don't even see the camera. Like, look, what's going on, man? Like, oh, shit, my bad. I apologize. Nobody told me. What was the security to stop me from walking? He's like, nah, what set you from? I said, what set? And he's like, yeah, what set you from? This Hoover. I was like, Hoover? So it was like whatever he was saying, I was kind of like repeating it. He was like, set you from? Set? And I'm looking around, still looking for the set, thinking I'm gonna wear it. Somebody say action, cut, stop,
Yeah.
And then he says Hoover, so I'm like, Hoover who? You know what I mean? And then he goes, where you from? And I started laughing because he started going into his little gang thing or whatever like that. Yeah. And I started like laughing. He goes, where you from? So where I'm from? I said, I'm from Cleveland. He was just like, oh, you ain't from out here. I said, no, I'm not from out here. He goes, that's what I said. You ain't from out here. I said, no, I'm not from out here. And so then he said, oh man, you need to get with us. Go down here with the Hoovers and we're going to show you and you can hang out with me. My name is such and such and such and such. I was like, nah, man, I'm cool. I just start laughing or whatever. Like,
because you knew? Did you know? Like, did you feel like?
I just felt like he was like comedy to me. It was just like his whole demeanor of like, what's up, I'm like, what's going on? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, this is funny to me.
Yeah.
So then what happened was, after that, where my grandmother lived, it was predominantly like Mexican neighborhood. So then I started dating a girl. And I would go to her house every day or whatever. And, we would just sit outside. She was Latina. And then we would just talk or whatever like that. But what happened was, here's my relationship to music again.
Yeah.
Because the music that they would play, I liked. I was like, I know those songs because of the songs that my mother would play, the classic oldies or whatever that they would play. I'd be like, I grew up on these songs. I know these songs. And then they were so surprised that I knew all the music as much as I did. And then I would be like, if you know this song, have you ever heard this song? Or have you ever heard this song? Or let me play you this song. Or let me play you this song. Or look at this one. And they'll be like, oh, wow, yo, homie. So it was like a bond was formed through music. You know what I mean? Like that bond was formed of a like kind of music. And then it was also formed out of a respect. It was formed out of the respect of me respecting that I'm not from California, so I'm trying to learn the culture of California.
Yeah.
And you guys, and then remember I told you this because it's going to go back to this always.
Yeah.
4 things that I told you that I always liked was cars, dogs, girls, and music.
Yeah.
So what happened was the lowrider scene is like really big in LA.
Yeah, lowriders, yeah.
So then I would see these cars, and I love classic cars. So I was just like, oh man, look at that. And then they're making them hop and do all the stuff that they're doing. So I'm like, now you got good music, you have pretty girls, and you got cars. Only thing we missing is dogs, but
the house of dogs.
But
it's coming.
You called each other dog. Yo, that's my dog right there. That's my homeboy. That's my dog. Right there. That's my dog. Right there. So now the dog is there. You know what I mean? But for the most part, you got those three things. So we're attracted to, even the food. Like the food is like good. Like, you know what I mean? So it made me.
So you feel the lifestyle basically. You're like,
it basically drew me in because that's what it was like. The things I was already into and the things I already loved, they had the same love and appreciation for. So it was like, okay, cool, this is what it is. So that's how that happened. And then as you're growing up and you're trying to find yourself, like I went to college, I ended up becoming a paralegal. I became a paralegal for in the state of California.
All right.
Because my ultimate goal was I wanted to go work for the U.S. Justice Department.
Okay.
And I wanted to work in the civil rights division. So I basically wanted to defend, people whose civil rights have been violated by like, like I said, again, maybe that's because I was a kid born in the late 60s and got to see like, a lot of this stuff, and it was still
Martin
fresh.
Luther King and all
because he died the same. I was born 2 months. I was born 2 months after Martin died.
But I guess you heard all the stories.
Yeah, so you would hear all this. Exactly. So it was still fresh to them.
Exactly.
The Malcolm X's, the Martin Luther Kings, the Fred Hamptons.
Exactly.
The this, the that, the that, the this, and it was still like really, really fresh. So you would hear the stories and you would hear, or meet people that would tell you like, hey, yeah, I remember marching. I remember this. I remember that. I remember when this was happening, or I was a part of this, or I was a part of that. And you start realizing like, okay. So then, I had, like I said again, I had various jobs after that, like various jobs, from working for Domino's Pizza to
hustle, right?
Yeah, it's just like you're a kid, so you're growing up and you're trying to like find your way.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, how I got into the music thing was, like I told you, I always loved music. Is that I was at the radio station. There used to be a radio station called The Beat in LA. So I used to always listen to this guy, but on the radio, his name was Kevin Slow Jammin' James. And he always played like the classics, like the stuff that, because he was from the East Coast, he was from the DC area.
Right.
The DC, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia area. So he knew the music. So when he would listen to the music, or he would play the music, I'd be like, I haven't heard that in years. So of course now my friends who we became friends because of the love of music, our love of music, I would put them onto his show like, on Saturday nights, Friday nights, you got to turn this show on. You got to turn this show on because this is incredible. He plays the music that, trust me, you guys will like the show. So then, my friends were like, listen. So then I would call him, and this was the days when you could call a radio station and they would answer the phone or whatever.
Right.
So I would put requests in and leave dedications. And then I would call so much till we got to know each other.
Oh, okay.
Like
with the radio people.
Yeah, like with the radio guys. Yeah. So we would know each other because me calling like all the time, like, hey, can you request this? Or can you? And then the request that I made, he said that he could always tell that I wasn't from California because the songs I would request, some of them were really big, East Coast records.
Right.
So then after that, we became cool. So then one day I called the radio station and he was like, yo, do you want to come down? And I was just like, yes, I do.
Of course.
Yes. Why wouldn't I?
Of course.
To sit here and play music and talk to people on the phone?
Yeah.
What? This is almost like a dream job. So then after that, he's like, come down. So I would go there and I would sit with him, and then he was just like, and I think the first time I just sat there and just like listened to him, and we talked about music and all the rest of the other stuff. And then he was on the air because normally his show was on late at night. But then some days he would fill in during the daytime. And so when he was filling in during the daytime, one time I called into the station, and in the afternoons it was a lot busier than at night.
Right.
And so then he's just like, I can't talk, but if you want to come down, come down.
Okay.
So then I went down to the station in the afternoon, and I'm listening, and I'm this, that, and the other. And then I was consistently like calling him, and then he's like, yo, you have an open door to come in whenever I'm on the air. Just call and let me know, and I'll let you. And he gave me his personal phone number, and I'll call him and be like, hey, is it cool if I come down? And he was like, yeah, okay, I'll leave your name with the security guard. Okay, cool. So then he's like, I need a producer for my show. And I said, okay, well, what is it? He said, this is what I need. He said, I can't. He goes, but if you can't answer the questions that some of these listeners are calling in and asking for these songs, then it's like I'm still doing it by myself, because you're going to say, hey, what's that song that went like, or hey, what's this song like? Yeah, or hey, he goes, so that stops me from doing what I have to do to prep for the show to answer your question. And it's almost the same thing, like as if I'm on the phone. I'm doing it by myself.
Takes your attention away.
So then he said, this is what we're going to do. I said, all right. He said, I'm going to give you 10 songs, and you tell me who made the song. Tell me the name of the song and who made it. I was like, all right. So it's almost like a name that tune kind of type.
It's a quiz. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, all right, cool. So he starts the song. He starts with one song. And I was like, that's such and such and that's such and that's the name of the song is this. And I said, the name of the song is this. This is who made it, and this is where they're from. He said, oh, I didn't ask you for the last part. I said, well, no, we can. So he said, they're going to get like a little harder. I said, all right, cool. So then he started hitting me songs. I start catching them in 1 note, 2 notes, 3 notes, even before the singing come on. And he was just like, I said, or I would be like, this is that. But because the way it starts off and the chords and stuff in it, it could be that, because they pretty much almost start the same. But I really think it's this one.
Right.
And then he was just like, yo, you're good. He's like, you're real good. So at that point, he's like, yo, you got it. So then, he gave it to me.
Yeah.
And I would produce his show, and, and then there would be like people that would come in sometime. They'd be like, yeah, I know music or whatever. Go against my guy.
Okay.
And I said, okay. So during this time, it was right around the time when Death Row had came out.
Right.
And so when Death Row came out, like, music was crazy because, Dre is Dre is like everything they say about Dre being a musical genius, producer, classic icon, this, that, it's true.
Well, hold on. So because you were not into hip hop at that time too much.
I mean,
right?
I was still into hip hop, but I've always been R&B has always been like my favorite.
Right. So now you discover Death Row.
So this is during the time, because I'm in LA.
Right.
So, Death Row comes out. Then you got Dre, who's a lot of his tracks that you look at are like very 70-ish influence, kind of like funk or R&B tracks or whatever, or like usually like the bass line to him or
the samples,
whatever the samples that he would use.
Yeah.
And so then what happened was I had met me being always into music, like I told you. I had ended up meeting a guy by the name of Kevin Black, because I went to like some music conferences and stuff like that, and I would always see Black. Hey, what's up, Black? And he was like one of the first ones. As a matter of fact, he's in the What's My Name, the Snoop video. What's My Name? He's the guy that's sitting on the couch when he tells Snoop, so what you gonna do with your life? He said, you better get up and get it. And he's sitting on the couch, and Snoop said, yeah, when I grow up, I'm gonna be just like you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's Kevin Black.
Yeah, that's Kevin Black.
Yeah.
So then from there, I would see him, at the music conferences or whatever, and I didn't know him like that. So then a couple of years passed by, whatever. I'm still at the radio station or whatever. And then I just happened to walk into a FedEx, and then he's coming out of the FedEx. And I was like, yo, Black, what's going on? And he's like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? What's happening? But he didn't really know me because, he's at that point meeting a lot of people or whatever like that.
Right.
I had met a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I go, what are you doing now? I haven't seen you for a while. He goes, no, I'm out of the business real quick. He goes, I dropped out for a couple of years. He goes, but I'm, I want to get back in. And he goes, there's a label called EMI at the time. He goes, I'm about to come over there. And then he's like, stay in touch with me. He goes, and maybe I could try and bring you in as an intern or something like that. And I was like, ooh, all right, cool. He goes, what are you doing? I go, I'm working at the radio station and I'm doing whatever the job was I was doing at the time or whatever. And he's like, all right, cool. So then at that point, I, kept his number. I did the follow-up calls. And then he said, look, I'm getting ready to take this position at EMI. He goes, I could bring you in, but I could bring you in only as an intern. I said, as an intern? And he's like, yeah. I said, so what do I have to do? He says, you have to call college radio. I said, okay, cool. I said, so what I got to talk about? He says, you just got to talk about the records and you just got to call the DJs and basically tell them to play it. So I said, that's it? I just get to call people and talk about music all day and just tell them to play the record? And he was just like, yeah, basically that's what it is. He goes, now that you broke it down that simple, that's truly what it is. I said, all right, cool. So then I go work for him at EMI. And then I remember one day I went into the office and I told him, I said, how much does this pay? And he was like, motherfucker, what? I said,
intern.
He said, yeah.
It's in the name.
I said, yeah. Like, how much does it pay? Because, I got bills and stuff I still got to. He's just like, and I had just had a baby.
Oh.
Because I have another child. I have 3. Right. And then my oldest, she's 26 right now.
Right.
So it was a year. That's all I could always remember how long I've been in the business, because I got in the business a year after she was born.
Right.
So then she was like, so he was just like, yeah. He goes, let me ask you a question. I said, what? He said, you pay to go to college, right? And I said, yeah. He goes, well, motherfucker, I'm about to teach you some shit that maybe you could probably use for the rest of your life to feed your family. Shit, now that I'm thinking about it, you should fucking pay me. And I was like, no, you make, if you make common sense to me, I'll be like this. All right, that sounds about right, but no, I'm not gonna pay you. But I understand why.
It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
I understand why I'm not getting paid.
Yeah,
like that. I can justify if somebody asks me, why aren't you getting paid? Because I'm learning.
Yeah,
I could technically should be paying him for teaching me.
Absolutely, yes.
So then, at that point, I'm there. I'm making phone calls, and we had this. One of the first rap groups I really had to deal with was this group called the Boogie Monsters. And they had this song called "Beheld the Pale Rider." So they were like kind of like real hip hop backpackish, kind of like underground hip hop. Right. And then I'm calling DJs and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Blah blah blah. I'm over EMI, whatever." And then I met, he's a brother to me now, but I met, his name is Sean. They called him Sean B. Sean Bolden. He used to be a part of a group called 7A3, and they were like one of the first groups that were signed to Geffen, I think. Okay. One of the first rap groups signed to Geffen. So then, I was working with him, and he was on the East Coast, and I was on the West Coast. And he was basically kind of like really guiding, helping school me, whatever, with the music. But I just had a desire. I've always had this desire that I'm going to be the best. If not the best, I'm damn sure going to fall in the top 3. And if I'm not in the top 3, I'm damn sure going to be for 1, because to me, I look at 4th as like, I really look at 2nd as like, you're the first to lose. Yeah. And I look at 3rd like, okay, so you just happen to be a little faster than that loser that's coming behind you that's exactly. Now 4th. That's all it is.
That's what it is.
I said, you know what I mean? So
that's mindset.
I said, I'm going to work my ass off and treat this, even though I'm not getting paid, I'm going to treat this like if I'm getting paid. I'm going to treat this like if I'm getting like, a super salary or whatever like that. And then what happened was Wu-Tang dropped the Return of the Wu album. That was the one where they had like with the last one that ODB was on, that they had like Triumph. That was the name of that
Triumph,
album.
yeah.
Triumph.
Wow.
Right?
Classic.
So they dropped Triumph. And so I'm with the Boogie Monsters. So, it's Wu-Tang, Yeah. They doing what they do. But I learned through dedication and persistence that you can almost you can really get anywhere. So at that time, it was rumors that were coming, and who knew that this was going to be the beginning, but it was rumors that were coming that EMI was going to fold. Right. So it was just like, nah, because I had the pleasure of being able to work D'Angelo's first project, the Brown Sugar album.
All right.
Classic.
That's a classic.
So I got to work that one. I got to work with this guy. You may have known him as Prince or whatever like that.
Oh,
so I got
Symbol.
to work, so I got to work with him.
Wow.
Because he had an album that came. He actually put out a 3 CD set that came through EMI.
Okay.
That was like really good.
So what did you do with like, DeAngelo?
Promotions. I was doing like promotions,
right.
like radio promotions and stuff like that, marketing promotions. And
Okay, we'll get more into what what's promotion, what's radio promotion, how it works.
Right.
Keep on going.
So
we'll get into
and then what happened was I was calling DJs, like I'm telling you, I'm calling DJs and I'm like, yo, I got the Boogie Monster, and they're like, I said I'm trying to get number 1 most added, and then I got like number 2 most added behind the Triumph album.
So I have to explain because obviously the French people might not understand the concept of most added, because we don't have that concept in France. We don't have that.
Okay, so what most added is meaning like you set a date that you actually tell on the radio, like I'm going for position on this record. Like I'm really going to look to get this record added into your rotation. And so then you set a date. And then what happens is when that date comes, and at the end of the day, it's usually at 4:00 on Tuesdays, East Coast time, then it'll tell you what the how many stations have come in, where you are positioned. Like if you're number 1 most added, then number 1. If you're number 2 most added, then it's, number 2 or whatever like that. So then what happened was I came in number 2 most added. And of course, I'm up against Wu-Tang, so they're coming in number 1 because they're a machine at that time. They're pumping Method Man, Ghostface, all the rest of those guys. But I'm steady plugging like go. I need this. So we're on the charts now. So Wu-Tang's like holding down like number 1, or they're like top 5. Like if you're going after anything and it has chart positions, it's actually 3 numbers you don't like. Those 3 numbers are 11, 6, and 4.
Why that?
Because 11 means you're 1 away from the top 10.
Yeah.
6 means you're number 1. You're 1 away from the top 5, and 4 means you're 1 away from the top 3. Yeah. So if you come in at number 4, you're like, damn, I was almost top 3.
Yeah.
I was forgotten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm number 11. Like you know what I mean?
I don't know.
So these are the numbers. So at the end of the day, what happened was I'm steady plugging the songs going up the charts, but then the rumors are still coming that EMI is going to shut down. And then it was so ironic that the week that EMI did end up shutting down, because at first they were going to turn EMI into an urban label.
Right.
And that would have been crazy because there was no urban labels at that point besides the Motowns and the Stax records at that time, but not a major had turned. And then, we saw later on down the line, we saw LaFace, we saw Uptown, we saw Bad Boy, we saw the Death Rows, we saw, all these other urban labels that really did really, really well. So that final week, I got the number 1 spot.
Boom.
Over Wu-Tang. And then they were like, this is the last week for EMI after that. They're shutting down. So I was just like, I went out with a bang. Number motherfucking 1 over the Wu.
Yep. All right. And then what did you do then? Because obviously,
at that point, we basically, Virgin was under EMI at that time too. So they were trying to figure out what they were going to do with their staff. So then we basically had like a month's vacation. And then they said, okay, cool. We're working it out. You guys are going to end up going to Virgin. So remember I told you when I first got into the business, I was doing college radio. Yes. So when we went to Virgin, it was already people doing college radio. So that meant I had to go to do commercial radio.
Oh, that's
which is
different.
Like the radio that you hear on the radio.
Right.
So I took the same, but what happened was some of the same DJs that were on college radio did commercial radio too. So some of the relationships I had, and then the other ones I cultivated. So then you had a thing which was called like a call sheet, which had like the stations, and then it would have like the DJ's name, address, phone number, whatever. And this was like, think about it, this is pre-email.
Right.
So this is pre-email. So you're basically like just almost like a salesman cold calling. Hi, I'm Adam. I'm Adam Lucky F. This is from Virgin Records. Reaching out to you. This is DJ such and such. I'm calling you because I got, this record or that record or whatever it may be. I got Janet Jackson's Velvet Rope, and I'm trying to, this is the single that we're going for. I got Gangstar's Mass Appeal album. I got, other things so I'm calling them. And then I told you when we started this interview, it's always been two people I've always believed in, that I always counted on. Me and God.
Yeah.
I always believed in me and I trust in God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what I would do is at that point, now they had to start paying me, but they weren't paying me as an employee. They were paying me more like as a consultant. So I would have to turn in an invoice once a month, and then I'll get my check. And then sometime I'll be like, yo, where's the money?
Okay.
And then I have to go get it.
All right.
So what I started doing was, remember I told you, I always looked at this thing as like, I'm going to be the best.
Yeah.
So everybody's always looking at and we talked about America, and everybody's always looking at like the big cities. They're looking at the Miamis. They're looking at the New Yorks. They're looking at the DCs. They're looking at the Atlantas. They're looking at the LAs, the San Franciscos, the Chicagos.
Yeah.
When you're a state of 50, nobody's looking at like the Minnesotas. Nobody's looking at, like the Gary, Indianas. Nobody's looking at like the Jackson, Mississippi. Nobody's looking at the New Orleans. Nobody's looking at some of these other markets. And I said, I'm going to start focusing a lot on those, because you can't build a house without a foundation.
Right.
So you have to build. So I'm like, these guys are always being ignored. So I'm going to start reaching out to them. So then I started, making these phone calls. We started, connecting or whatever. Like if we had a little special stuff, let's say like t-shirts came in, then I would be like, yo, you my man, whatever like that. I need you. Can you play this weekend? Can you play this song or whatever like that? Can you give me like maybe 3 songs? 3 spins or whatever. Here, I'm going to send you a t-shirt. Or I got slip mats or whatever, because that's when they used to do slip mats, maybe with the artist's album title on it.
Yeah,
I could send you a couple of slip mats, t-shirts, slip mats, posters, whatever, that type of stuff.
Right.
So I would send them that stuff, and then they would be like, "Yo, man, when you coming out? When you gonna come through the market? You can come through like on a tour, promo tour. What you doing? What you gonna do?" And then I would tell people like this, and I work from the mindset of this. On the average, I don't care who you are. You'll tell somebody, even if you're blood related to them, you'll tell them, yeah, somebody be like, hey, I'm gonna come visit you. You be like, all right, cool. And then you be like, well, how long you gonna stay? And they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna come out, I'm gonna come stay with you for a week. So 9 times out of 10, you be like, all right, cool. Because in your mind, you're like, cool, that's cool. A week is good. 7 days.
Yeah.
But maybe a lot of times by the 3rd or 4th day, you're like, yo, I'll be glad when this motherfucker go home. Because you feel like, you feel like, shit, I'm entertaining them.
Yeah.
I feel like, damn, like, my whole schedule is built around their schedule. Like, shit, I may want to lay around in my underwear. Yeah. I can't lay in my underwear because they're here in my house now. So I can't. So now my comfort has been
compromised,
kind of. Compromised. Yeah. So you start saying like, so I said, knowing that of human nature, and California being at the end, California, is behind everybody else in time.
In terms of what?
Meaning like time of like
time zone.
The time zone.
Yes.
So I said, if I caught a flight in California let's say I caught it at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's already noon in New York.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's a 4-hour flight, 4 or 5 hour flight. So by the time I get to New York, it's already 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would tell people, dude, I'm not making a lot of money over here. I just got like a little bit. And then you're so cool. And they'd be like, don't worry about it. Just come stay with me. You come crash in my pad. I'd be like, dude, I'm not beyond sleeping on the couch. Or if you got like nice carpet and a good blanket and a soft pillow, I'm cool with the floor or whatever like that.
Yeah.
Because my mindset was this. By the time I get there on Friday, we're going to drop off my bag. 9 times out of 10, you're going to ask me, let's go get something to eat. If you're a DJ, you probably have a club you're going to do that night. So we're going to go do the club that night or whatever like that. Or you're going to be at the station. I'm going to the station with you. Then I'm going to the club with you. Then by the time we get back to the house, it's about 3 a.m. That's Saturday now. So by the time we were there on Saturday, we're probably going to hang out for a little bit. Then you're probably going to go and show me around that day if I've never been there before. Hey, yo, let's go to the mall. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Oh, let me take you to this restaurant here. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And then at that point, you may mess around and meet their family, you know, if they're married or whatever like that, or they got kids or they're living with. So now what's separating me from the other promoters that are calling you asking to play records is because now we're personal.
Right.
Because I'm in your personal space. So we have other things to talk about besides just me calling you saying, can you play my record?
We have a relationship.
Yeah. I can say, oh, how's your mom? How's your aunt?
Yeah.
How's your girl? How the kids? How was it? And you legitimately know I'm not just asking you.
Yeah.
Because you know I've been there.
Yeah.
Oh man, damn, when we went to that restaurant, oh my God, I was telling people that food was like, you know what I mean?
You have stories then.
We got stories outside of that.
Yeah.
So that by the time we end the call, I'll be like, hey, and they're like, what's up? I was like, can you play X, Y, and Z? No, don't worry about it. I got you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I said, and you're staying short enough to the point where you're not getting on their nerves. Because remember, coming from California, 9 times out of 10, I'm getting there in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Late evening, late afternoon. So then you're going to work Friday night. Saturday, you're going to work. And then I'm usually on the first flight before 12 back to California. So
that's very short, right?
So it's a very short amount of time. But in that amount of time, we've done a lot.
You can grow the relationship without...
Yeah. So what that happening is, and I would take my money and invest it in myself. So that later on down the road, when we get into that part, when we go into certain markets, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know that person. I know them. And they'll be like, how do you know all these people? I used to go see them. When everybody else was trying to go to New York and all these other spots, I was going to visit these guys. I remember when these guys would, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I remember when we would, do the late night thing.
To travel all over over
the U.S. and just go invest in myself,
And it paid long term.
And it paid off long term. Still paying.
Exactly.
It's still paying.
Still paying it to this day.
So yeah,
we'll get to it anyway. But yeah,
and so then after that, when I went to Virgin, then the situation came around again. At that point, that's when Shaquile O'Neal had his record label. And this was like about 90, 99. So we're talking about like about like 99 that this was. And then he put out the album, The World Is Mine through Twism. And so we ended up going to work for Shaq at that time. And then most people don't even realize Shaq is actually a platinum selling artist with his first album.
Right, that's true.
Through Interscope, he was signed the Can You Stand the Rain album.
Right.
The one that he had with him and Biggie and all the rest of the other stuff like that.
Yeah. Only Interscope could have done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was good. But at that point, I wasn't with Interscope yet.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm at A&M.
Yeah.
So then when I go to A&M, I go to A&M Records because that's where Shaq ended up landing the deal. And when we were there, then A&M's situation was like, okay, check this out. This is what's got to happen is we don't really have a promotions department. So you guys have to work our records too, as well as you're working Shaq. So that was a trade-off. We'll work Shaq, but you still got to work these other records that we have. And I was like, okay. So at that point, that's when Corrupt had just left the Dog Pound. So he put out a double CD called Corruption, and which was really good. It's still a classic to me. That's still a classic because one album was basically over West Coast style.
Yeah.
And the other album was basically over East Coast beats. So he worked with like all East Coast producers for one side, and he worked with all West Coast producers for the other side. So it was like a really good album. And then this was during the height of the whole East Coast, West Coast beef.
Okay.
Right. So me being in New York and going to New York all the time, and I told you I just constantly meet people. So then I end up meeting Noriega from Capone and Nori.
All right.
Right. So then me and Nori like
CNN.
Yeah. So Nori and I, cool. Like get real cool. Like real cool. He had the what was it? This Flint album. Not Larry. I forget what he was calling himself. Something Flint album.
All right.
So he had that album. So then he and I are like really, really cool.
And he's Puerto Rican, right?
Yep, he's Puerto Rican and black.
Exactly.
Hey,
just
so
like
you. Know what I mean?
There you go.
Victor Santiago. That's his real name.
Exactly.
Yeah, so then what happened was, now did you realize that he had like one of the number one podcasts in the world with the Drink Champs?
Drink Champs. That's crazy. I mean, it's funny because every time, like, I listen sometimes to Drink Champs, and especially, my favorite episode is the one with Khaled, because I'm a big fan of Khaled.
Right.
But where does they record this Drink Champs? Under the Miami airport or something? Because they have like every 2 minutes you hear like some
like a plane or something.
Yeah, like a plane is coming crashing in the studio. I'm like, wow. Maybe there was a quietest place, to.
Or maybe he got it cheap.
Maybe I don't know, but it's funny. It's super funny, but yeah.
And so he's like kind of like what we're doing right now. Like he's got like crazy stories because he got stories from the artist perspective. And the artists want to come in and sit down and talk to him.
Shout out to Nori.
And shout out to Nori.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then, what happened was he and I. Oh, going back to A&M real quick. So Corrupt had the great album. Corrupt has this great album, and then we had. When R. Kelly went and did his solo group, because most people don't really remember, it was called R. Kelly and when he left them and went solo, the group was still together. So the group had signed to A&M. So we had to work, like their stuff like that or whatever like that. So like I'm telling you, I'm real cool with Nori. So whenever Nori would come to LA, he would reach out, yo, what up, Slam? What's going on with you, Adam? You good? What's happening, A? I'm in LA, whatever. Yo, you know who the Weed Man is? So sure, I got you.
Yeah.
I know, because you got to know who the Weed Man is. That's LA.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people all the time. That was California broccoli.
Yeah.
So then he's like, "What you up to?" I was like, "Nah, I'm running around right now. I got Corrupt." He's like, "Word." He goes, "Yo, I want to talk to him." He goes, because at that point, like I said again. Corrupt and the Dog Pound had just did New York, and then Mobb Deep and Nori, all them had did LA, and all the rest of the other stuff. The shots were coming.
Yeah.
The beef was going back and forth. So I said, yeah, well, we're going to be at Power 106, which was the big hip hop station in LA at the time.
Yeah.
So I said, we're going to be at Power 106. He goes, all right, cool. He goes, I know. I go, you know where it's at? He said, yeah, I know where he goes, I know where it is. He says, I'll meet you over there. I said, all right. So I said, but hold on, let me let Corrupt know. Because I'm not into setting nobody up. Like, I don't know if he's going to be comfortable meeting with this guy or not. Sean and I were over promoting, had Corrupt up at the radio station to go do his interview. And so then Corrupt was like, yeah, tell Cuz, I said, come through, whatever. So we literally, when we were there, he meets us there. And then, he hit me. I think he paged me. That's when everybody had pagers. And so I think he paged me, and he said, I'm close. So I said, okay, cool. I'll meet you downstairs. So, I go downstairs, and Nori's down there, and he comes, and he's there, and he's like maybe just him and like two other guys. And then basically with Corrupt, it was just Corrupt and Sean and I. They was like, well, what's up? So Corrupt comes down, they come over, they start talking, and then he was like, yo, X, Y, and Z, and they talked about what they wanted to talk about. And then Nori was like, yeah, I always appreciated your music. Like, I would love to do something with you. And then Corrupt was like, yo, I see what you guys are doing too. And basically they squashed it over a blunt. Like, whatever tensions that they had, they smoked a blunt right there in front of the radio station.
And it was gone.
And then they have a cool relationship ever since then. And then, Nori went back and told Capone, yo, I just met with Corrupt and whatever, and we all good. Then Corrupt went back and told Daz from the Dog Pound. So then I think they actually did a project where it's like a CNN Dog Pound song together.
All right.
Yeah. So
what's it called?
They were like, I'm not sure, but I think if you go probably go to YouTube or whatever, you can pull it up, and it's definitely on there.
Yeah.
And I know it. I know at that point, it started opening up like Corrupt and Daz, and you start seeing a lot more West Coast artists started working with East Coast artists because if you remember the Jay-Z song, he had put out the album, the La Familia album. And then when he put that album out, then he did it like it was like a West Coast beat with him, Beanie Siegel, whatever like that.
Yeah.
And then after that, they did the remix where they put the dog pound on it. So it's like Daz and Corrupt are like rapping over the same track or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it kind of like, I think I would like to say maybe I helped bridge that gap.
That's crazy.
A bit.
So how did you help bridge that gap?
Because remember, I was friends with Nori.
Yeah.
And I was working with Corrupt, so me and Corrupt were already cool.
So this is what ignited basically the reconnection of both coasts, basically. Yeah. That's crazy.
So it was crazy.
All right.
My man Sean B and we did that. And it basically, and which teaches you in life that a lot of times that a lot of the world's problems and conflicts can be solved with just a simple conversation. Again, they just sat there, or a blunt, because the blunt had them right. The blunt had them right.
Yeah, definitely.
Leaning against the wall. We talk about because a lot of times what happens is during conflict, sometimes you'll find that probably like almost 90% of it is because of misconstrued or me thinking that you may have meant this and you didn't actually mean that, or I thought that you were saying this about me and you weren't really saying that about me, and it was about
psychology.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of times it's just conversation that can, that can bring that stuff together.
Yeah.
So because of my relationship with Nori, it's how I ended up meeting Pharrell.
All right.
So
that's a big one.
Yeah. So that's when, because people don't realize that Nori was the one that discovered Pharrell. When Nori did Super Thug, Pharrell produced Super Thug.
Yeah.
And that was Pharrell's first really big record.
That's true.
So
I was playing that back then. It was crazy. It was fire. What a track.
What? You know what I mean?
A classic.
So then he had that, and then Pharrell did another song off that album when I forget that I was talking. Melvin Flint. That was the name of the album. Nori's album.
Oh,
the Melvin Flint album.
Right.
So then Nori's like, yo, I'm in town. Come through the video shoot. So I go through the video shoot. Pharrell is there
for Super Thug.
No, not for Super Thug. For I'm trying to think but you boys don't want that thing, and then there was like
I can't remember the name of the track
because remember it was like almost like a boxing ring kind of type thing, and Pharrell was like really like, you boys don't want that thing, like when and Nori was like rapping on it.
Yeah.
So I was at the video shoot. So I was there at the video for a quick second, and then Nori introduced me and Pharrell. And he was just like, yo, P, this is my man, blah, 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 blah. And then that's how me and Pharrell got cool.
Wow.
Because of that introduction of Nori. That was Pharrell before the world knew Pharrell.
Right.
So whenever I see him, and I'm the type of person, and even our brother that we have that connected us like this will always tell you, like, I just treat people the way I want to be treated. Like I treat you, and you see me with my kids. Like I treat them and I teach them, to be kind, be respectful. Because at the end of the day, I feel like if you pass that, if I'm excluding that, exuding that energy, then that's the type of energy I'm attracting back. So if I'm going to be, if the respect is going to start anywhere, let me be the first one to be the respectful one. Because in that way, it lets you know how I'm feeling or the type of person I am, so that you give me that energy back.
Yeah.
Because if we're not going through that, I mean, if I'll be like, well, what did I do that I was disrespectful to you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also, like with my other kids, like my oldest one, like, and I tell these guys because they don't quite understand yet. And I used to tell her that sometimes you can offend or disrespect somebody and not even know it.
Yeah.
I said, if you do, you apologize and you just don't do it again, because if you do it again, you basically told them, fuck you.
Yeah.
So,
and you did it on purpose.
That you did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Once they've let you know that they've been offended by whatever you did.
Yeah.
So that's the way I try and live my life, because I'm not walking around here with a bunch of bodyguards. I'm not walking around here with looking over my shoulder. I'm not, because I don't want that type of energy.
Yeah.
So I don't, put out that type of energy. I'm like all about a smile. What's up? What's going on? How are you? Let's get to the music. Where the girls at? Where the dogs at? Ooh, let me see that car. Like, it's funny. Like my kids, they're 7 and 4.
Yeah.
And like, they're into cars now, and they're into music, and my youngest one, he loves dogs.
Okay.
And the oldest one, I think he's really starting to look at like girls. I'm like, oh, okay.
All right.
you know.
All right.
And the little one, it's so funny. Like in my kids, I see them that they're both me. What I mean, like they're both me is the older one. He's like outgoing. He's talkative. He'll meet people. He's friendly or whatever like that. But he's super sensitive. Like his feelings. He carries his heart on his sleeve. Like, you know, his feelings are easily hurt. And I was like, damn, I remember when I was like that. And then I got my little one who's shy. Like I was shy, but he was on some like, I don't give a fuck. Like he's, like, you know, he's like the one that's gonna be like, I don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, that's kind of like me now. Like you're like, man, fuck out of here.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't care about that shit. You know? Yeah. But they all love music. So, you know, I have music around them. We play music. They ask for songs. They know what they like. I listen to what they like. You know what I mean? And like, and growing up being biracial kids, the world is open to them, so it's a plethora of music. So they love a lot of Spanish music. They love a lot of, you know, some hip hop records. They love some pop records. They love whatever their heart desires. Like they sing songs in French. They, you know, whatever they love.
Because they speak French as well. They go to a French school.
So yeah, they go to a French school. They speak French. They speak and comprehend Spanish and English. So they're, you know, at the end of the day, I figured this is my contribution to the world to grow, to help develop and grow world citizens, not just American citizens. I want them to be able to say that, I travel the world. My father, like the 7-year-old, he's been from everywhere from the Middle East to Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a long way.
So so with that being that, you know, he's met all different types of people. He's seen he's eaten all different types of food. He's experiencing different types of culture, but he still comes into it like with the same energy that I'm telling him, that you come in it with a smile and you exude, you know, positivity and respect and light and respect and integrity, and that you meet people and you're like that. And, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, when sometimes people talk about, you know, this kid or that kid is this or that kid is, at the end of the day, it's not really the kid, it's the parent.
Yeah.
Because the kids are the reflection of the parents of what they're being taught or not taught. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you can't blame the kid because, you know, like I always feel like kids weren't asked to come here. Kids are, if we do science, let's just do basic science. Kids are what Einstein said is basically the simplest form of action versus your action causing a reaction. You know, it was an action that me and his mother, and he was the reaction. And it was so good once, so we went back and did it twice. You know, you know what I mean?
Of course.
That action was resulted in a reaction.
Yeah.
And now, you know, you got two, and then at the end of the day, you know, you turn around and you look at it and you be like, they don't owe me, I owe them.
All day.
Yeah. They don't owe me anything. Only thing they owe me is just to be respectful individuals and, you know, like keep that pride that you feel in your kid. Yeah. And be like, that's the honor that you owe me. But as far as like really owing me, you know, anything as far as you putting clothes on my back or food on my table or whatever like that, I owe you that. Yeah. You don't owe me that.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So
if we get back to Pharrell, how's Pharrell?
Dope.
Yeah.
And then I ended up working with Pharrell later on with another artist when I was at Interscope. So, but
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So you're still at A&M?
So I'm still at A&M.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
And then at this time, remember I told you, I said, who knew EMI was going to be the start of the beginning of labels merging and shutting down, major labels.
Yeah.
So what happened was, this is when Universal comes into play.
Right.
And when Universal came in, Universal said, there's too many of you. We're going to start making conglomerates. We're going to start calling it, you know, and then Warner followed the same path with WEA, Warner Electric Atlantic.
Yeah.
We're going to make you guys just one entity versus 3 separate labels. Universal said, what we're going to do is we're going to create the Def Jam label. We're going to create the Universal label. We're going to have Geffen. We're going to have Geffen DreamWorks, and we're going to have Interscope. Because the way that Interscope was able to get away with not being lumped into anything was because Interscope, Universal only owned at that time 40%. Jimmy still owns 60%.
Okay.
So with him owning the 60%, they couldn't come in and do them like they did Def Jam and all the rest of it, because he's like, no, I'm not going for that. We can only do
Jimmy's a beast.
Jimmy's a beast. Jimmy's also a funny guy.
Yeah, we'll talk about you meeting Jimmy and growing that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what happened was with that coming about, one of the guys I used to work for at Virgin was now the senior vice president over at Warner Brothers. So he was just like, I may be wanting to call you to bring you in. He goes, would you come and work for me? I was just like, yeah, like if the money's right. Now this time I'm getting paid. No,
of course.
Look, the money's right. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
all day, all night.
Of course.
So sometimes things happen and they're a gift in disguise, but you don't see it in a sense, is because what happened was Universal ended up taking A&M, merging A&M into Interscope. So Interscope became Interscope A&M. So they picked up their roster, everything went into there. Then at that point, it was DreamWorks Geffen. So you had Def Jam, DreamWorks Geffen, Interscope A&M, Universal Records at that time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, why do I feel like I'm forgetting something?
But Warner?
I think it was, because Warner's separate. Warner's in the separate, they're separate. So, and then at that point, you start seeing all the labels started doing this merger thing where, remember, like Sony Columbia, so then you became Columbia Epic, then you had Jive, this, and I forget what they all were. They started meshing all these labels in together, and so you would have like this super roster. A lot of artists were getting cut, a lot of jobs were being lost, all the rest of the other stuff. So I ended up going to Warner Brothers. So coming from Warner, going to Warner, it was different, but it was where I learned the most. Because sometimes, like I said, it's a blessing in disguise, because Warner didn't really have any. If you understand Warner Brothers is really a pop label.
Yes.
A pop rock label.
Yeah.
That dabbles in black music and hip hop music. Right?
Yeah.
So when he told me to come in, he's looking for stuff to develop. So he says, well, what all black music do you have? So at that point, Warner had got scared of black music because a lot of people forgot that Biz Markie was signed to Warner under the Cold Chillin'. Cold Chillin' came through Warner Brothers. And what happened was Biz Markie put out an album where he didn't get the samples cleared. And then so Warner was kind of scared of that. And then Warner had wrote this crazy contract with Roxanne Shante because she was signed to Warner under Cold Chillin'. And what basically it was in the contract, she said, as long as I choose to go to educate myself or go to school to education, Warner will pay for it. So Warner's probably figuring like, yeah, this little black girl, little rapping black girl, she probably just put that because her mother made her put that, but they didn't know she was going to really exercise that clause. And so she's exercised that clause to the point where she's actually a doctor.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And Warner at first tried to get out of it. But then the judge was like, nope. This is signed, sealed, delivered. This is a legitimate thing. So whenever she wants to go back to school, Warner has to pay that bill.
That's crazy.
And it's not even like she has to pick like, a lower school.
Yeah.
She'd be like, I want to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
I want to go here. They got to pay for it.
That's crazy.
So that's what's in her contract. Life.
For life.
For life.
Wow. Okay. Till this day.
Till this day.
Yeah.
You know, and the Dante Wilder voice, till this day, till this day. They gotta pay.
Yeah.
So I go to Warner, and when I go to Warner, the thing was they had Eric Benet, and I walked in, and that's when Eric Benet had just dropped that record with Faith Evans, where they did the old Toto Georgie Porgy.
Yeah, crazy record. Yeah.
So I ended up working that.
Classic.
And then what happened at Warner, Warner mainly had R&B records.
So you're still in promotion, like radio promotion?
Yeah, I'm still in radio promotion at that time.
Yeah.
So then now I'm like co-national of like, they said rap music, whatever, radio promotion. So then Warner didn't really have any rap records. So to justify being paid, I learned how to work jazz. Warner had one of the most exclusive, largest jazz catalogs in the world.
Yeah.
They were like even bigger than Blue Note.
Right.
So they had like Boney James, Norman Brown, Earl Klugh, Foreplay. They had like their jazz category was Wayman Tisdale. Like there was out of here. Warner used to look like a ski lodge. And if you look at some old Warner Brother album covers where the stickers were, like on the albums, that's the actual building of where it looked at 3300 Warner Boulevard in Burbank, California.
Okay.
So it looks like a ski lodge. So you could see through it. You know, I remember I met Tom Petty over there one time. So that was cool. I remember they were walking around this group called The Used. You know, do you remember them? They're kind of like around the same time as the Killers and all the rest of it. It was like that kind of like I don't want to say Nirvana kind of type grudge, but it was like that kind of like era of music or whatever. And they were called The Used. And it was like, hi. They were from England. It was like, hi, how are you? I said, good. I said, what's you guys' name again? They said, oh, we're called The Used. I said, oh, you're in the business. You about to get it. What? What do you mean? I said, oh, no, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
You'll get there.
You'll get there. Yeah. You're going to start feeling that little pinch when they're going to tell you to bend over a little bit. That won't be a finger. You're going to start realizing like, yo, you're really hugging me. You know? Yeah. And so then I learned how to work jazz. And I had the R&B records. And then KG from Naughty by Nature had a bunch of production deals. And he did a production deal with Warner. And he had an artist by the name of Jaheim. He had put Next on Arista. He had, what's the girl's names? He had them signed to, he had Coffee Brown. They were signed to Arista. And he had, it was these two girls. They were from Jersey. And they were signed to, he had them signed to Motown, if I'm not mistaken. And they had that song, If I Could Give My Heart to You. It's, you know, I'm not a singer, so, you know what I mean? So, guys, please forgive me. You know what I mean?
I get it.
Putting out the, Jeanne.
Oh, okay.
So he had them. So he had Jaheim that was signed to, like I said again, he ended up getting Jaheim signed to Warner Brothers. So I had to work the Jaheim project and like really just taking that from like the beginning to the end to turning this guy into like, he was a really big, I'm not sure if he became big here over in Europe, but he was really big in the States because he had a voice where he sounded like he was a cross between Luther and Teddy Pendergrass.
Right.
But he could like really sing, like, but he was like on some like R&B thug kind of type.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it was like, you didn't hear R&B singers singing like that. And it's funny stories about Ja because he was like a street dude, whatever. So I remember I used to always bring him to the office, like when he would come to the office from like New Jersey. Because like I said, again, I'm in California at the time. So when he would come to the office, he'd be like, yo, hey, where them fucking dice at? I'd be like, right here, motherfucker, come get it. And so we close the door and go in there and shoot dice for money. Oh, okay. Yeah. We will keep it all the way. You gotta see when you're working with some artist, or you gotta find, or you're working with them, you gotta find what makes you connect. Yeah, it's gotta be something. Yeah, because I gotta spend a lot of time with you, and we have to be able to connect on something that you're meeting a whole bunch of executives at the label sometime. And some of these executives at the label, I'm gonna be honest with you, them motherfuckers are stiff.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. I think you're the greatest person in the world. Oh, we're gonna do great things with you. You're gonna be like, then you'll never see them again.
Yeah.
Until you put out the album platinum. Hi, you know, when such and such first came over here, I just knew there was something special. I could see it. There was something special. Now look at us. We done sold this many albums, and they're well on their way or whatever like that. And you be looking at them saying, like Drake said, you wasn't shooting with me in the gym. Like you wasn't out here on the road. You know, you wasn't going station to station, city to city, coast to coast, breaking this artist. You wasn't having to convince him to come do this radio station when he felt like he didn't feel like doing it because he just got finished arguing with his girl on the phone.
Exactly. So what take us through, the process of breaking an artist through radio, basically, because that's what it was at the time. There was no internet, it was.
So what you did was you had, at that time, labels were hiring street teams, and these were basically like little. I'm not going to say little, but these were basically like representatives of the label in the market, but street team, but they were like independent contractors. That's exactly what they are.
Right.
Independent contractors that knew the streets. And they knew like the clubs, they knew the barbershops, they knew all the tastemaker spots, they knew all the restaurants, they knew wherever it was to go get your record started, to get the artist a buzz. And so a lot of them would start in the clubs or whatever like that, or put them on mixtapes and all the rest of the other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that would happen, you'd bring the artist through the markets and you start doing your promo. Like have them come through, and then by that time, the program director starts hearing like, "Oh man, I went to this club and I heard this record and I heard that. Oh man, they're talking about this and they're talking about that, and this artist is hot and this is what's going on." So now that transition that comes to radio. So then, or sometimes you even have program directors that will call like the label and says, "Yo, I heard X, Y, and Z when I was out the other night. Oh man, that's hot. Do you think we can get him for like a radio date show? Can we do this? Can we, you know what I mean?"
Right.
So then that word starts spreading and spreading. And because how you and I spoke about how like America is, you have certain pockets of the US where it's like, if this song will work here, let's say like the song will work like in the Midwest, like Detroit, Cleveland, Chicago, Louisville, then you already know that it's the same type of song that'll work in New Orleans, Houston, because they kind of mirror each other.
Right.
It may work in DC. It may work in like, you know what I mean? It's like different eras of records of where it may work at. Like, if you had West Coast records, of course, it's going to work California, Nevada, Vegas, Arizona. It may work in the Midwest, but the Midwest was unique because they in the middle of the country, so they were getting music from the East Coast and the West Coast. So they would play everything.
Both, yeah.
So then that's why you go about and you get then you take the artists out on promo tours. Where they would, at that point, when record stores were still open, they would do retail, go by the retail stores and do meet and greets where you get the community and you'd be like, "Hey, such and such is coming here. They're going to be at this record store on this day. They're going to be there from like 6 to 8. Come through, come meet them, come take a picture, come get an autograph, come buy." And the whole purpose of that was basically you're trying to have, if you buy the mixtape, or if you buy the CD or you buy the cassette, tell you how far I go. You buy the CD or the cassette, he'll sign it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And help the retailers push your product a lot more.
And sell.
So it was like a hand, my hand washes your hand because I'll come to your store, which makes you hot in the neighborhood. And of course, they're probably like putting a couple of extra dollars on top of whatever that CD was selling for because you're there and it's an autograph and all the rest. And then, by that time, that's spreading across the country because then you would have these retailers that would form coalitions where they would basically be like a union, like of these retailers. And this, so they would talk amongst, "Oh yeah, I had such and such come by my store. Great crowd. The artist was pleasant to deal with. Their people were good. Oh man, we had 1,000 people out there. We moved it." So, as an independent retailer, you're looking like 1,000 people. Like, and maybe let's just say the odds are you sold 500 out of 1,000.
That's big.
That's big because 9 times out of 10, what happens is once you get a person into a store, I'm coming in to buy whatever this album is. But as I'm standing in line waiting, I'm looking around and I may be like, "Oh, well, give me that one too."
Yeah.
So I'm there to buy one, but I may walk out of there with 3.
Exactly.
So,
What's the craziest, with which artist? The craziest one, like.
Man, you got me thinking out here.
Down, I don't know.
I did this thing called the Subway Series with Mobb Deep.
Okay.
Where basically, Mobb Deep at that time was well known, and this is when they were signed with 50 to G Unit Records.
Oh, okay.
I had them do what's called the Subway Series, like with they announced it, and this was through. You didn't realize. I think you could. We were doing this when everybody still had BlackBerry, Blueberries at that time, and we would just do a like a little announcement and flyer campaigns. We would it was like Mobb Deep's gonna be like in this area at a certain time, so we had them do the 5 borough tour, but we called it the Subway Series because they literally rode the subway in New York.
All right.
At the time, so we would say we're gonna pick up the subway at the Champs-Élysées, and we're gonna ride it for like maybe to the Notre Dame. So you would have somebody in the car that would drop them off at the Champs-Élysées by the Arc,
Arc de Triomphe.
the Triomphe, and then you would drop them off there, and then they would ride the train all the way over to the Notre Dame, and then that car would be waiting for them. So when we came out of the train, that they would get on, and that worked out really, really well because you would always do it like right when the kids are getting ready to get out of school.
Okay.
So then when the kids would see you on the train, oh my God, they were on the train with us. And then they're taking pictures and all the rest of it, asking for autographs. And at that point, you're looking like the Pied Piper because you see all these people following you off the train as you're jumping in the car and all that other stuff like that.
That's crazy.
So,
All right. So when did you get to Interscope? When did you?
So I was at Warner for about 2.5 years. So the guy that brought me in, he ended up getting let go. And then the funniest thing about the music business, which I never understood, you always find these people that come in where you'll come over and take over a department, then you gut the department and bring your own people in, versus saying that, well, maybe the person in that department may have been better than the person you're trying to bring in or whatever. And so then I ended up, they changed, and when new management came in, then they already had somebody else in mind who they were going to bring in or whatever. And then Kevin Black, who I told you really brought me into the music business. At that time, he was running Interscope, like, the hip hop department, the rap department.
Right.
And then he basically hired me and brought me in over there.
Okay.
It's funny because I tell people all the time, when I first came in, it was almost like an internship again, except I was getting paid because I was an independent contractor now.
Oh, okay.
I was getting paid monthly, and then they ended up moving Black back into that position. And then the people that were there, he basically let go, and he hired me and brought me in. And I always tell people, I walked through the door and was officially signed to Interscope the same day that 50 Cent signed his deal with Interscope. So the same day. So let's say like I got hired on a Monday, Fifth probably signed his deal like that Wednesday.
Okay.
So
as a solo artist.
Yeah.
So that was before Get Rich and Die Trying, basically.
That was right during the time of Get Rich and Die Trying.
Right.
When he was doing that.
Right.
So it was funny because the first 2 years of when he did Get Rich and Die Trying, that I was on the road with him for the 2 years.
Yeah. So like, what was it like to meet him, to meet 50, and to
because we had met, because what happened was, here's a funny story, like how like things in life you connect to. Because the first time I met 50 was when I was still at Warner Brothers, because at that point they were shopping, trying to figure out where they were going to sign him to. And then we had a meeting, and they were like, "Oh, we want you to come and meet, this artist we're thinking about trying to sign," because Warner was trying to get him at that time. And I walked into the office, and it was like, "Hey, this is the guy that runs our rap department over here. His name is Adam Favors." Whatever. He goes, "This is 50 Cent." So I met his manager and him. We shook hands. "Nice to meet you. Take care." That was it. And then who knew that when I went to Interscope, he was coming to Interscope.
That's crazy. So you met him after he got dropped from Colombia, or?
Yeah, this was after he had gotten shot and everything.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I met him at Interscope.
Yeah.
When he came in.
And he recognized you, and he's like,
"Where do I know you from?" And I told him. He's like, "Oh." So now we did end up working together. Like, let me tell you this about this man right here. On a personal level, he's helped me in a lot of ways. One of the smartest people I know, like super intelligent.
Okay.
Very smart, always paying attention. One of the nicest people, but he's also got that other side too that everybody knows. But he's definitely one of the nicest people. Like at the end of the day, like my kids call him Uncle 50.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but he's a great person. Like a great person. Like, you know, sometimes you may hear people say, well, you know, he's this or he has that or he has this. And like I was telling my son's godfather today, me and him were talking today, and I told him, I said, you know, what's made life easy for me in dealing with people is because when I do self-reflection and I realize that I'm flawed and I have flaws about me and just being a person that everybody does. So if I can recognize the flaws in me, how can I be upset at you for having the flaws in you?
It helps you accept.
It helps me accept
others. Yeah.
To accept the person that says,
yeah,
okay, so you're flawed, I'm flawed. Sometimes I feel like my name should be Lefty because I can't do right. Some things it just seem like you just can't do right.
Yeah.
So then, you know, when you're having those moments. So it's taught me to accept people for how they are, and not just for how they are, but for the character of the person. You know what I mean? Like, so I judge you by your character, not because, you know, and a lot of times, I don't know if they say it here, but and a lot of times in America, you'll tell people like, you never get a chance to make a first impression twice.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's wrong. I think that's bullshit, because I think that you actually have 3 times. To me, I judge it on 3 times because at the end of the day, let's just say, for instance, I meet you, and the day that, you know, Nazard is introducing us,
which is today.
You know what I mean? But he's introducing us. But before you and I met, you had something tragic happen to you. You know what I mean? Maybe you lost a family member. Maybe you got fired from a job. Maybe you got evicted. Maybe it could have been something that may have happened. Maybe you just woke up that day and life is just testing you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got a flat. Not only did you get a flat, somebody rear-ended your car when you was trying to change. So I come in and I meet you and I'm like, hey, how you doing? You be like, hi, how are you?
Cold,
but I don't know your backstory.
But you don't know what's happening. Yeah.
You're like that.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, okay, cool. Well, you know, maybe the person just had a bad day. So if I see you again, and then the next time I meet you, you may be like, hey, like we are now.
Yeah.
And it may be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, maybe he was just having a bad day. But if I meet you and you're the second time like you were the first time, then I'll be like, all right, well, damn, maybe that's kind of like him, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just catching him at the wrong time. And then I meet you a third time, and it's the same thing like the first 2 times. I'll be like, what the fuck is this dude? Slept rock? He just born under a bad sign or some shit? Or is he just, is this just him?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just cool at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm less like, we can just be high and by, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I usually think that you can't say you don't get a chance to make a first impression twice, because life has shown you don't know what may have happened to that person prior to you meeting them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because let's just say, for instance, you know, God forbid, you lost a relative. And you lost a relative, and you just hit the news, and I just meet, you know, and you just get the news, and I meet you, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? I was like, damn, his energy is off like that.
Yeah.
But you like, dude, you think I give a fuck about meeting you right now? I just lost a relative.
Yeah,
like, you know,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be, you know. And that's why I was like, okay, cool. You know. So that's how. But he's, and saying all that to what I just said is, he's an incredible person. He's a great guy, and I have nothing but great things to say about him.
So what was it going on tour with 50?
He's a perfectionist.
Okay.
He's a workaholic.
Okay.
He would literally, we did the anger management tour when we were out with Marshall, Eminem.
Yeah.
And stuff. And after performing for maybe almost an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, he would still be like, all right, let's get ready because we're going to record this album. And at that time, that's when he was doing Banks's project. He was doing Buck's project at the time.
So he was preparing the G Unit. Coming. Like, yeah.
So then he started. So he required that they had a studio bus or either a studio trailer that would follow behind and that they would record. And then he would be up in the morning, like bright and early in the morning. Like when I remember, it was a couple of times I had slept on his bus. You know, the tour bus when we were going, and I would be in my bunk, And this dude is up at like 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, knowing that maybe we left somewhere at like 2:33, and he's up at that early in the morning, blasting music, tracks or whatever he's listening to. That he'd be like, dude, like this is kind of early.
Yeah.
But he would be, you know.
He's a beast, right?
He's a beast.
Yeah, he looks like a beast. Yeah.
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 Great person.
Yeah. And tell me about Jimmy, because as you know now, I kind of admire Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah.
He's like my idol, you know, like, you know, if I can meet him one day, I'm like, wow, you know, like that's it. That's it for me.
Old J.I.
Yeah. So how did you get to meet Big Jimmy?
So what happened was with Jimmy is that, you know, like I told you, he owned Interscope.
Yeah.
So working in the building, he worked, his office was 2 floors above mine. So I would see him in the elevator or whatever like that. We ride the same elevator going up, whatever. Then I knew Dre from just being around. Just know Dre. He'd be like, what up, Adam? What up, Dre? You know, and like just cool, whatever like that. And so then I used to always have a smile like I'm getting ready to laugh at when I would see Jimmy. And then I remember one day he was like, hey, Adam, let me ask you. He goes, hey, let me ask you a question. I go, what's up? And then so the smile came. So he's like, why you always look like you always want to laugh like when you see me? I said, because to be honest with you, Jimmy, you a wild boy. I said, you be saying some wild shit that'd be hilarious at times. I said, so I'm already preparing myself that you're going to say something that's going to have me dying. And I said, so that's why I always start like laughing. I said, I'm always laughing, not at you in the sense like I think you're a clown, but you're a funny dude. He goes, you really think I'm funny? Like, hell yeah.
What did he do? What did he say?
It would just be some of the stuff that he would say.
Yeah.
It would just be like, just some of the stuff he would say, like, and you know, he's a very smart man. Like you understand why he is in the position he's in and what he's done, because he knows music. He really knows music. He's and like I said again, is an extremely smart man. You know, he has a great business sense. He understands the artist of dealing with the artist, and you know, sometimes the way he break things down, it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, but he was real cool. I remember, I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So one time, how I really got on Jimmy's radar was because Interscope had did the split, because that's when they absorbed. Now remember I told you it was Interscope A&M.
A&M, yeah.
But then Interscope absorbed Geffen.
Oh yeah.
Because remember Geffen, it was Geffen DreamWorks.
Yeah.
Then Interscope, then it became IGA, Interscope Geffen A&M.
Yeah.
So then they said, okay, we're going to split the staffs and split the artists, because you still had some artists contractually signed to Geffen, like Mary J. Blige, Keisha Cole, a few of those other ones like that, right? And then there was a guy by the name, and he's an incredible producer. Like I've been in the studio with him by the name of Ron Fair. Ron Fair was the one who gave Christina Aguilera Genie in the Bottle.
Okay.
So to watch Ron work and actually know how to read and write music and all the rest of this other stuff, I was like, yo, this dude is dope. I call him the Wizard.
Okay.
I was like, yo, this the Wiz right here. So even when I would call him, I'd be like, yo, what up, Wiz? Just like, hey, Adam, that you? Yeah, Wiz, you know, or whatever. So he had this artist that he had discovered by the name of Keisha Cole.
Oh. And
so Keisha Cole, everybody was going to say was going to be the next Mary J. Blige. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happened was we were in the meeting. So all the meetings, all the big, you know, company meetings were usually on Friday for Interscope and Thursday for Geffen. So Jimmy, because he's over Geffen and Interscope at the time, would come to both meetings. So he would talk about, well, what is Geffen doing? What's happening with the artist? Because he technically was Ron's boss. Ron was the CEO of Geffen, but Jimmy was like the CEOO over the whole thing. So Jimmy would come sit and he would be like, okay, so you have each department go through, pop department, talk about what they're doing, rhythmic department, talk about their artists, whatever, you know, sales, talk about this. So it's like at a table, like kind of like we're sitting, but imagine it's just bigger. So you got these people here talking about this one there, talking about that, this one there, talking about this one here. So he comes to our side. And so when he comes to our side, he's like, okay, so what do you guys have going on the urban side or whatever like that? And then my son's godfather at the time, he wasn't, because remember, Camden wasn't born yet. So at that point, he was just my boss. But like, that's like my older brother. His name is Doug Daniels. And so what happened was Doug was in the East Coast, so he was on the speakerphone. Right. So then I remember Jimmy came through and he said, like, so like, what's going on? Like, tell me about what's happening over here at Geffen or whatever like that. And then it's weird in business is because a lot of times you get these guys that ask for the truth, but people don't really want to tell them the truth. And I'm like, fuck it, tell them. Yeah. Because that's what you're asking for.
Yeah.
So Jimmy was like, all right, so what's going on? I said, ooh, Jimmy, you don't even understand. I've been waiting for you to get to me. So then he perk up like, what? Because everybody else is like, yeah, Jimmy, this is going on. This is going on.
Yeah. Like,
so he comes to me. I'm like, woo, J.I., I've been waiting for you to come over here.
Yeah.
I said, man, I said, you know what, Jimmy? God damn it, what I got to say, I can't even sit down, Jimmy. I'm going to have to stand up. So then he started stand up then. So I stand up. I said, Jimmy, we hot at this motherfucker. We hotter than the motherfucker. I said, Jimmy, I know Interscope's your baby. No disrespect, but we hotter than the motherfucker. Now, we hotter than you guys are right now, Jimmy. Yeah. I said, dude, we got this Keisha Cole project. That's when she had the Let It Go record, the one that Missy had produced for her.
Right.
With her and Lil Kim. I said, Jimmy, this motherfucker's so hot right now. We jumped 40 spots on the charts. You ain't got shit over at Interscope that's jumping 40 spots on the chart. Jimmy, we hotter than the mother. I said, we got the pop department doing their shit. We got this one doing their shit. Maroon 5 is moving like that. Jimmy, you can't fuck with us over here, Jimmy. We hot, baby. I'm trying to tell you. J.I., we are hot right now. I said, shit.
Yeah.
Jimmy said, I feel it. And got up and stood on the conference table.
On the conference table.
Got up, stood on the conference table and said, this is the kind of fucking energy I'm talking about I need at the labels. This is what I need. Not only here, but on my Interscope side too.
Yeah.
He goes, this is somebody that still loves music. That's not sitting around just collecting the check.
Yeah.
And then at that point, he was just like, man, keep doing what you do. I said, Jimmy, we can't stop, baby. We hotter than a motherfucker over here. Yeah. Keisha is on fire. Jimmy, we on your ass. Jimmy, we on your ass. Look, we spend less money. We bring it in the profit. Jimmy, we on your ass. You hear what these people talking about. Yeah. I don't know why they ain't got this type of excitement when they talking to you. Next thing you know, Jimmy was like, I'm cool. Got off the conference table, walked down, walked out. Ron Fair was like, he goes, I've been knowing Jimmy for like 20 something years. He goes, I've never seen him ever in my life stand up on the middle of a conference table because at one of these type of meetings before. He goes, man, he goes, you put us on, you put us on, like basically like you got him like really focused on us now.
Yeah. That
even when it went back to the Interscope side, because you know what separated us was just, and people were like, man, I heard you had Jimmy get on the conference table. So I ain't had Jimmy get on nothing. I just gave Jimmy the facts and just told him what it was. Jimmy got up there on this stuff. I didn't tell him to get on the conference table. He told me he wanted to get on the conference. Well, get up there then.
But you gave him the energy to get there.
Yeah. And then Ron Fair got on the conference table like afterwards.
Okay.
And so then at that point, then I remember he was the senior vice president. No, he was the president of black music for Interscope, and his name is Steph Johnson.
Okay.
And I remember we had a listening session because Jimmy had like a club that was across the street from Interscope, like a little small club, probably about like the size of this house. You know, this downstairs area, including the outside.
Right.
And he would go in there and he would play like new artists or new like Pussycat Dolls or whoever else was signed to him or whatever.
Okay.
And just do a listening session to see what. And then I remember for whatever it was, whoever the artist was, we were going over there, and then they were I'm getting one of my coworkers, he saw me, he said, yo, you ain't been answering your phone. I said, no, why? What's up? I said, it's on vibrate. He goes, no, Step is looking for you. And so Step is like the president of black music. And I'm like this. Oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
So then I said, I wonder what I did. Because now I'm getting kind of nervous. He said, I'll call him back over Step. What's up? It's Adam. I heard you looking for me. He's like, man, let me tell you something. Boy, I've been knowing Jimmy like since the beginning of Death Row, from our Death Row days. He goes, I ain't never had Jimmy call and tell me about he was this excited about somebody that worked. He was just like, man, Jimmy know who you are now. He following you. He like your energy. He likes this. He's like, man. He goes, I ain't never had Jimmy call and tell me about somebody like this before. I was just like, dude, I just love what I said, dude, I just love what I do.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, whenever I see him, he's always like, hey, Adam, what's going on? I was like, what up, J.I.? You good? He's like, yeah. You know?
Jimmy Iovine. Cool. Yeah. Tell me about Dre, because I know you've been in the studio with Dre and you've seen him working. And
Dre is everything that you hear people say he is and more. He's a perfectionist. He's unique. He's iconic. He's just dope as shit. I mean, you know, a lot of times you have a lot of production teams, and then sometimes when you hear people say, and this is what's funny about music, because sometimes maybe you may have had a falling out with some other producers or whatever, and then people fall out, and then they'll say like something to you like, oh, well, you know, Dre just put his name on that track, but he didn't produce that track, or he didn't or whatever like that. Yeah. It was such and such produced it, and Dre just. But in that sense, let me ask you a question though. You got a fine restaurant or fine dining restaurant, top of the line restaurant. I mean, we're in France right now. We're in Paris. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure there's plenty of restaurants that are like that, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, is the chef really cooking everybody's meal? Or is there a bunch of other chefs that are cooking and he's going through to make sure that the meal is right?
Yep.
So imagine Dre is the head chef, that he's going through, that he's sampling the sauce, or he's checking the meat, or he's tasting a little bit of this, or he's doing a little of that, or he's seeing the little imperfections that are maybe like in the dessert, and he's saying, no, add a little more of this or add a little more of that. And he's coming through, and what you thought was good, and it was good, he's just with a couple of things made it better.
Much better.
Much better.
Yeah.
And then you look at it and you be like, okay. So yeah, you created it, you produced it, but he went and fine-tuned it. And he made it better. So yeah, you may be one of the chefs in the kitchen of Shay whatever, but his name is head chef on there. When they ask who's the chef, he's the one that goes out, even though you made the meal.
Even with Scott Storch, you think? Even with
Scott, and see, I know Scott too.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I know Scott too. Like a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, manages Scott now.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
Steve LaBelle.
Steve LaBelle. Yeah, that's the homie. Me and Steve go back 20 years. I know Steve from Bone.
Okay.
I'm trying to tell you, I've been knowing a couple of these people.
I need to get Steve on the show as well, because I'm sure he got some badass stories.
No, Steve got stories.
Yeah,
Steve got stories.
He got my stories.
Steve's got like crazy stories.
Yeah.
So yeah. So after this interview, I'll hit him for you.
Dope.
So then what happened was just Scott is dope. Scott is dope. I've been in the studio with Scott. Watch Scott work.
Do
his thing.
Crazy, right? He's now he's putting out, all these videos on. He's been doing that for since he's trying to, he made it. He's come back.
Yeah.
Putting out the, Instagram and videos and I watched that and I'm like, like, what I'm saying, like I've been producing for years.
Right.
And every time I see him in the studio with his cigarette in one hand and hitting the. In the studio, I'm like, this guy is a straight genius, because he went all the way up, all the way down, and now he's coming back up.
And Steve helped him bring him back up.
Exactly.
And so then, it's he's dope. He's a dope person. He's always cool, always always cool.
Yeah.
So he's dope. He's a dope person too. Scott's.
You've been in the studio with him.
I've been in the studio with Scott.
That's crazy.
So I've watched Scott work, build songs from the bottom to the top.
Which song that like
just different artists I've seen him like work with and just do different songs or whatever like that. He's worked with 50. I know him and 50 at one time. We're talking about trying to do some other stuff together again.
He worked on Get Rich and Die Trying. He worked on
So
classic track.
He's done records. Scott's done records like with Chris Brown, like a bunch of other different people. Like Scott is dope.
He did some of the biggest records back then.
Here's the craziest thing is,
yeah,
most people don't realize Scott started out with the Roots.
That's right. Yeah.
Scott started out with the Roots.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a Philly boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's insane. And this is how Dre actually found him.
Yeah. Like with the incident,
the rest is history.
Yep.
Like the Still Dre and all this.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How? How? Sway.
So it's I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be in there and watch some real masters work.
Yeah.
And told you I met Pharrell with Nori.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Before the world knew Pharrell.
Yeah.
So then the circle of life brings you back and I see Pharrell again. This time we meet when he is Pharrell.
All right.
That the world knows with the hits.
Yeah.
So it was an artist that was signed to Geffen, that was signed to Interscope by the name of Slim Thug.
Oh.
I
met Slim a couple of times in front of the Universal building in New York.
Yeah.
Cool dude.
Cool dude,
Super
right?
cool dude.
So I'm working with Slim and we go in the studio with Pharrell. And then when we're in the studio with Pharrell and Pharrell's like telling Slim his vision of what he had for his project. And then Pharrell is like really pushing for this song. And like I said, again, the one thing about Jimmy's always partial to producers. So if a producer comes in and says he wants this versus, that's why you'll see like producers like when Akon had a situation over there and Pharrell had a situation over there. R. Kelly had a situation at Interscope. People don't realize. It was like he's going to always find those big producers and he would sign them to Interscope and give them like production deals or whatever like that. So we're in the studio. We're at the record plant in LA. And so Slim is in there recording. And so we walk in and then Pharrell started talking about, is this one record that he had put out on Slim and it wasn't reacting the way that he wanted it to. And he's like, the radio department over, because the radio is going to always be the radio promo team. If it goes good, they did it.
Right.
The producers and everybody did it. The artist did it. But if it goes bad, it's the radio department.
Well, it's like a manager, right?
Yeah. It's just so then what happened was Pharrell was like, the problem is just that the radio department over there can't get the songs. I mean, Nazar probably knows about this being that, what I mean? So he's like, the radio department can't get the songs. Right? I said, and so I was like, and so then Slim go, well, Adam here right now. He from the radio department. And then Pharrell was like, like I said again, they can't get the song. I said, no, the problem is that we can't get the song. The problem is that they don't want to fuck with the song, the one that you put out. Boom. He's like, what you mean? I said, no, fuck that. Slim, tell him what it is. Tell him what they're saying. He's like, yo, G, I'm telling you, G. That's what they telling me. They don't even like this song. They don't want this song. They want to go with this song right here. They don't, you on this one, and they trying to get on that one. He goes, well, we'll give them what they want. He goes, who picked this song right here anyway? I go, you did. You the one that picked the song.
Pharrell did.
Yeah. I go, you picked the song. You the reason why we're working this record.
All right.
And then at that point, Slim and I still talk all the time. And I'm like cool with his, like, because I was with him so much. Remember I told you that same principle work what I would be with the DJs? Well, now if I'm with the artist and I'm with them so much, so imagine you can only keep up your front or your I call it the representative of for so long, but if I'm with you for 2 years, I get to find, I really meet you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm with you as much as I was with Slim, at this point, I know your sister, your brother, your kids, everybody.
We're family.
Yeah, because we're in the van. We're in the van and we're driving around and we're sitting in there for 10, 12 hours, 5 days a week or 2 months. We're out there on the road.
Yeah.
I'm listening. we're in the van. Where you gonna go to have this phone call when you're fighting with your girl? We can't stop the car and pull over.
Yeah, everyone.
I'm in the car.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean. Yeah. So at this point, our relationship is different because, you know, I like to say that I have short-term memory. I don't remember anything.
All right.
Somebody says, "What happened? Was I don't know. Was I there? Yeah, you was in the car. You was I don't remember any of that." I remember nothing.
It's better like that, right?
It's better.
Yeah,
I don't remember anything.
Yeah,
because it's a trust thing.
Yeah,
that I can trust. I can say whatever around you. That it's not gonna be.
It's not gonna go nowhere.
That's not my place to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the artists, I had like their own personal phone numbers or whatever. Like they'll be like, "Here's this number, but I'm gonna give you this number that I'm gonna always answer," or this person's going to answer. If you ever need me, just call me on that one or whatever like that. And so, you know, a lot of times when the label couldn't find certain artists or whatever like that, or like they couldn't get in touch with Fifth, then I knew who to call. And I would be like, yo, tell Fifth, you know, such and such, and them are looking for him. So he needs to pick up his other phone or whatever like that, or call him back or whatever like that, or Jada Kiss. Like the artists I've worked with a plethora of artists. I work from everybody from Gwen Stefani, Janet Jackson, Gangstar, Shaq, like I said, Jaheim, different jazz artists, Mary J. Blige, Keisha Cole. I remember when Keisha used to walk through the office at Interscope and be like, "I'm signed to Interscope, but nobody knows me. I'm signed to Interscope, but nobody knows me."
Really?
She used to walk around the office like that. Maya. Who else?
There's one name you still haven't gave him.
Dude, it's been so many. It's really.
What about the game?
I've worked with the game. I was out with the game. I was out with the game for about me and JC on. I still reach out to game. Like me and him was still cool.
So what's your relationship with him? You've been
We're
doing.
Good. We're good.
No,
good.
I mean, did you do promo for him?
Yep, I did promo with him, and then remember, with me being with Fifth, so I had been with Fifth for those 2 years, and then he was real tight about his circle. So he like when Game was signed to G Unit, he was just like send Adam out with him because I know how it's going to be done. You know what I mean? Then that way, because we had a relationship, he would call me, like 50 would call me and say, "How's it going? What's he doing? What's up with this?" Or if Game didn't want to do something, I can call 5 and be like, "Yo, can you know, which was rare, very rare. Can you tell him he needs to do X, Y, and Z or whatever like that?" But me and Game, that's my guy still
to this day.
And the one thing that I like about the relationship with these guys that I've been able to deal with is because of the simple fact, like when they were warring and going at it with each other, I was never told to pick sides.
Right.
You know what I mean?
This can be tricky.
And then it was like Fifth was my guy. I'm gonna always ride with Fifth. And then it was funny because I remember one time I was with Game and I was running Game around in some of Game's guys was like, "Yo, we ain't seen you in a minute. Where you been?" Whatever. And then one of them was like, "Shit, cause you know he over there running with Fifth. That's why you ain't seen him with it or whatever like that." And then it's like, "What? 50 be running around with 50?" Like he'd be like, "Nah, that's his guy. Like you can't be mad. Like that's his guy." That he goes, "I respect him in the simple fact that he didn't switch up.
Exactly.
That he just played the middle." I'm like, yeah, I don't get into that. That's not my thing to get into. My thing is to, if me and you have a good relationship, it's only two people that can destroy this relationship, and both of them are either you or me.
Yeah.
That's the only two people that can destroy this relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because you're beefing with Nazard, or Nazard's beefing with you, or whatever like that, what am I supposed to stop being friends with him?
Exactly.
Because I'm friends with you, right? Or am I supposed to stop being friends with you because I'm friends with him? That's not gonna. You grown ass men. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's girl shit.
Yeah.
To me, that's what I look at. That's like girl, playground shit. When you're a little kid, you do that. Well, you can't be my friend if you're gonna. you then. Huh? I'm gonna call Nazard over here. We're gonna jump your ass there.
and then the game, gets me to that other dude that you know quite well, my brother, Fred Frenchie.
Yeah.
So tell me about the story about Fred Frenchie. How did you meet him? How did he go? Tell me everything about that guy.
So now Fred is dear to my heart because Fred is my brother.
Yeah.
I used to be like, yo, that's my little brother, only because he's younger than me and he's shorter than me. But at a certain point, you got to stop calling your little brother and just call him your brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he'd be like, he's a grown ass man. You're going to be like, he ain't going to be 50 years old and you're going to keep saying, hey, that's my little brother. You know what I mean? You'd be like, no, that's my brother. You know what I mean? So how I met Fred was, I was out on the road. This was during the time, like I remember I told you I would go out with like all the G-Unit artists. So I'm out on the road and I'm running around. Like I've been on the road with Eminem. I've been on the road with and I think at the time when Fred came through is when Banks was putting out his album or whatever. Banks' album. So I would come back. I literally would be on the road, come back for about a week, and take off and be on the road again. Right? And it seemed like I just came home long enough just to wash dirty clothes, pay some bills, pay the rent, then back out again. And then, so I come in and Fred's in the office. And there was because in the summer, the labels get hit with a lot of interns. And like I told you, I started out as an intern, so I'm always partial to interns. Yeah. I'm always they have a soft place in my heart. I don't treat them bad. I make sure that they're treated well. I try and help them as much as I can because that's how I started.
Because you've been there, yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So what happened was, me and Fred and I, so he's in the office. So then my assistant at the time, she's like, hey, she goes, I just want to let you know that you have an assistant. You have an intern. I said, all right, that's cool. Whatever. Whatever. All right, cool. She goes, yeah. She goes, the other thing is he don't really speak English that good. She goes, but he works good. I said, what? She goes, yeah, he's from France. I said, all right. So then while he's there, then I literally would be like, all right, can you go get this? Can you move that? Can you do this for me? Can you do that? And he'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, all right, cool. Because our conversation was real limited, literally limited. Yeah,
because he couldn't even speak English.
So I would just be like, yo, can you move? And he, we found a way to communicate where we both understood.
That's crazy.
And that was, but we kept it very simple. And so then after that, one day I was playing R. Kelly. I was playing some R. Kelly in the office. And then out the corner of my eye, I looked and I could see him. He was bobbing his head to it. And then when he was bobbing his head, then I'm looking at him and he's kind of mouthing the words to he's singing a song, he's singing and he's doing it. And then I stopped and I said, you know this? And he goes, yes. I said, you don't know who this is. He goes, yes, I do. I go, who is it? He goes, that's R. Kelly. I said, public announcement. Remember I told you I couldn't think of the name of the group? I was signed to A&M. Public announcement.
Okay.
It was R. Kelly and public announcement.
Okay.
The public announcement who was on A&M when I was there.
Yeah.
So then I said, you don't know that? He goes, yes, I do. I said, well, you know this song right here? And then he's like, yes. And then so we started playing music. I was just like, okay. All right. Because, my love for music.
Yeah.
And it's always been my attraction.
Yeah.
So then I started playing other music or whatever like that. And then I was like, all right, cool. And so then I would come in. So then when I would come in the office and I would talk to him like, yo, you good? You okay? He's like, yeah, whatever. He goes, what do you need me to do today? And I'll be like, oh, go do this, go do that, with that. And I'll be like, oh, if you want, go have lunch or whatever like that. If I didn't have anything for him to do, or I'll be like, close the door. And we're just going in and just start listening to music.
All right.
A lot of different R&B stuff. I said, if somebody knocks at the door, just start acting like you're moving. Like you're doing something, but we're just sitting there listening to music. Yeah, you're doing something.
Yeah.
So then we got really, 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 really cool like that. And then and then I asked him, I go, what do you do after you leave here? He goes, oh, I don't know anybody here, so I just go home. So then at that point, I called the street team that I had in LA, and I was just like, come up here. I'll need you guys to meet somebody. And so then, they came up. And it's funny, one of the guys that was on the street team is now one of the A&Rs over at Rock Nation.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
What's his name?
Earl Johnson.
Okay.
So what happened was he came up, and then I said, yo, I need you guys to take Fred, and he's you guys' age. He represents me, so, treat him right, take him out, this dude. So at that point, then, he developed their relationship with him, and they all got real cool, and they would take him like to different parties and clubs and all the rest of the other stuff. And then they started using him because of his French accent to start picking up on girls or whatever like that. Like, talk to him, Fred. Hey, how are you? He'd be like, yeah, no, this is my guy, Fred. And then, like I was telling you earlier, what happened was you would see celebrities out or whatever. And then, and you would stop and be like, hey, my friend, he wants to take a picture with you real quick. Cause he'll be like, oh, there goes such and such. You'd be like, hold on, stop him and ask him to take a picture. And then you'd be like, nah, he's from France. So he doesn't. And then they'll come back, oh, you from France? And then, Fred starts talking. Hi, yes, I'm from Fred. My name is Fred. I'm from France, whatever. I live in Paris and Bordeaux. And they were like, oh, cool, let's take the picture. Yeah. So they would take the picture or whatever like that. And then I told Fred, I was like, yo, why is it in all your pictures you look like you got a shit? I said, because in all his pictures, he'd be like this. So what the fuck you said? You always look like you want to shit in your pictures, like they're stepping on your feet. You always looking like, I don't know what's wrong with you. So when you see his pictures, he's got a classic look. He's got a classic look. So then after that, we would talk music, and then I would tell him what I would do, and then he would be in the office with me, so he would see what I was doing, and then I would make sure that I introduced him to the different artists when they would come in, so he would meet them, like, yo, this is my guy Fred, he's my intern, whatever. I always make sure that I want people to grow. If you're around me, I want you to grow. I want to help you grow, like even with the street team, right? And the music, and I'm not sure how if they do it here, but I know in the States they have what's called like regionals, where like a person's responsible for a certain region. Let's say like how many major cities are in France right now? There's Paris, Bordeaux,
just probably
Lyon,
6, 7,
Marseille, Nice.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just say it's 6 or 7, 6 major. So that person that's in charge of Paris would have like Paris and maybe the little outer round. And then the other person may have Lyon. Another person would have Marseille. Another person would have
Bordeaux.
Nice. Bordeaux. Like all that.
Yeah.
So you would have a street team person maybe in all those other little cities that would be around there. Like a person would be like, well, I'm responsible for this city, that city, this city, this city. And then I would tell my street team people, because the regionals have such a large territory or whatever. And you know how like we talked about how big the states are, how like each state is kind of like its own like little country.
Yeah.
So a regional sometimes can maybe have 5 states under their belt that they got.
Okay.
So you can't be in all 5 states at one time. So, but I have a street team that's there that can help you. So the street team normally knows the program directors. They normally know the retail people. They normally know the DJs that's on the radio, the ones that's in the club or whatever like that. And I would always tell, and so when we would do these promo tours, I would always tell my street team, make sure you put something in there that you want to do with the artist. Because when I give the artist the itinerary, they don't know who put it together. They just know, okay, we got to do radio, we got to go do this, we got to do that. I said, and then you work with your regionals. Talk to your regionals. Make sure that your regionals know that you want to, if the regional gives you any kind of problem, call me and I'll fight for you to get it put in. Because the regional only really cares about anything that's got to do with the radio station. I go, if the regional's taking everybody out to dinner, I say, you make sure that you go to dinner too, because of the simple fact, you're basically saving the regionals. You busting your ass for the regional.
Yeah.
So what's happened is now a few other people that were on my street team now have label jobs. Like I was telling you about Earl is an A&R over at, Earl is an A&R over at Rock Nation. I got my one really, really, really good friend, and I joke about him. I call him my son, but he just became the head of the department over at Sony. His name is Kevin Valentini. He started on my New York Street team, and then he was senior VP. Now I think he's like co-president of that department. Then another guy, he's a VP over at Epic, Corey Sparks. So it's like a lot of, like these guys that I'm like looking at like, imagine if I would have never told you to go just stick to the street, never learn the radio part.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I need growth. Like I can't hang out with dummies. I don't do well with dummies. I don't have the patience for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always want to see people grow because I feel like the energy I throw out in however what it is, and you can't go into it thinking that somebody's going to treat you or do for you or help you do for you or give it back, pay it back because you helped them out. Because, a lot of times people get into that mindset like an artist and be like, I did this shit all by myself. Ain't nobody ever helped me do this.
Yeah.
I moved up.
Self-made.
I'm self-made.
Yeah.
And then you look at it and you be like, okay. But you be like, God sees. You know what I mean? God knows and you know.
Yeah.
And I know.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you ever pop crazy, like try and talk crazy, I'll be like, yo, my man used to work for me. I'm the reason why you're in the position you are now.
That's crazy. And what do you think of the evolution of the music industry, the music business?
I think that once I really got into this business, and I tell people all the time, it's a business to me where it's a vampire.
Right.
It's a true vampire. Like in a sense, it will suck you for everything you have. It will suck your morals. It will suck your integrity. It will suck the life out of you. It will use you up. And then once it uses you up, then
it will throw you in the garbage. And
yep.
And so basically what you're trying to say is don't get into the music business.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what I'm telling you is what to look out for.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you don't get into it because it's an incredible thing if you love music, but because you love music and you love being in the business, don't lose you.
Yeah.
Make sure that the same morals that you came into the business with, don't let the business corrupt you. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would never tell nobody not to get in it because it's incredible. I mean, like I tell people, I don't feel like I really work. And what I mean by that, who I think works are the guys that work like FedEx and all the rest of them dudes that are delivering packages, Amazon, carrying the dude that's out here patching holes in the street. That's work.
That's work.
Me, I'm talking about music all day, something that I love.
Yeah.
I'm going into the hottest clubs around the world for free, not even standing in line, saying because my music that I'm working, you gotta play in the club, so you gotta let me in the door.
Yeah.
Or I'll make sure I cut your ass off that you don't get the music no more.
What do you do now? Because are you still working with the record label?
Yeah,
are you still working
now
with?
I'm in a position that because I've been doing it now for so long and I've had to work a lot of projects I didn't believe in. You know, a project I'll tell you a project that I worked that was dope, and I was there for the inception of that. That became a worldwide hit record. Was Uptown Funk.
Okay.
So what happened was I get a call from the label, from like Interscope. And so they said, we got this record, we got this idea. And then they said, hold on a second. So they put Jeff Basker and they put Mark Ronson on the phone. And they said, we want to do this idea where we're basically going to go and discover new talent and do it like kind of like the old fashioned way of Motown and hit these towns. And we want to start in New Orleans and do the history, because technically the world says that the United States has only given the world like two forms of art form, jazz and gospel art, gospel in a sense, and R&B. But really, if you really think about it, jazz and blues. So then you turn around, the U.S. is probably really given it's contributed to the world's art forms, but it's always been musically. So you would say jazz, gospel, blues, and hip hop.
Yeah.
And hip hop, is a worldwide thing. So you look at that, and then he said, I want to go out. Mark was like, I want to go out and find like new talent. So when he said, okay, so he goes, well, he goes, I want to do this thing where I do a road trip and I go from New Orleans to like Chicago, following the migration of music from the dirty South all the way up into the Midwest to the Chicago blues and all the rest of the other stuff, and how it grew as it passed along its way. No worries. I said, oh, you want to do I-55? Because like me being on the road so much, I know all the highways in the
Yeah.
So he said, all right, cool. And then he was just like, then he's like, thanks for the idea, whatever like that. Then maybe about 3 or 4 hours later, I get a call back and they're like, can we pay you to take us out on the road? And I said, hell yeah.
Why not?
I'll take you. Why not? And they said, but your other job is you got to drive too. That's no worries. I mean, shit.
What'd you have to drive?
Just drive the car.
Okay.
So I was just like,
you're going to have a driver. You have to drive.
Yeah.
All right.
So I said, okay, cool. I told them how much I wanted. We worked out the terms. They were like, fine. And then once we did that, we started in New Orleans. We went from New Orleans. We did Baton Rouge. We went, and then along the way, Mark was looking for like certain things that he wanted to hear, like gospel churches, and he was looking for real singers and stuff. So of course, I called people I knew in New Orleans or whatever, and they got us lined up, and we got to go to some churches, heard some incredible voices. Incredible. A couple of people I know he wanted to sign, but they were like, no, I'm just into my voices for the Lord. I'm only singing for God. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then we put on a couple of talent shows along the way, and he found some different people that he looked at. Then, different producers or whatever like that. And then...
so you said the itinerary, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, after that, we went up to Jackson. Went to Jackson, Mississippi, and along the way, learned the history. And then he met people, and they talked about the history and different people that were influential and that may have been related to other people. And then when we got to Memphis, which was dope, is because we went into Boo Mitchell's studio, and Boo Mitchell, we actually took a private tour of Stax Records, where the old Stax Records were. And Stax Records was the Motown of the South. So they had like Al Green, the Bee Gees, the Green Onions, like all that. And a lot of people don't realize is that when Led Zeppelin first came, they didn't want to, and the American labels were trying to sign them. They didn't want to sign with them because for whatever reason, the people in the UK have always been really partial to black music.
Yeah.
So they wanted to sign directly with Stax. So they basically negotiated a deal where Zeppelin, if you look at it, is actually considered a Stax artist by way of Atlantic.
Right. Okay.
So they signed directly with Stax, but were distributed through Atlantic. So we went on that tour, got the private tour, got to see, Isaac Hayes' Cadillac, because they made it a museum. So it's like all kinds of, stuff that you went in. So we go into Boo Mitchum's studio, and when we go into his studio, he showed us like the mics that Al Green would sing on, and like it's funny how like these guys were so creative, because you know that song "Love and Happiness" by Al Green.
Yeah,
and so how like when it starts off and you hear like is it well, basically what Al did was stomping on the milk crate.
Okay.
And that was what was crazy. So you got to see that. And then that's where they recorded. They had Bruno fly in, and that's where they recorded Uptown Funk.
That's crazy. And let me ask you a question now. Did you get royalties on this track?
No, I didn't get anything because I didn't produce.
Yeah, but like, you see what I mean? Like you said, the itinerary, which led to inspiration and led to all these. Maybe they could have, just
well, like I told you, God sees. God's blessed me. I'm good.
I'm just saying. You deserve a couple points there. I'm just.
But
saying.
I didn't look at it like no hard feelings. You know?
No. But it would have been cool. Would have been cool.
But you can't always expect people to do the right thing.
Of course,
you know,
of course
what I mean?
not. But
But
so Bruno,
So, but no, it wasn't Bruno. It was Mark.
Mark, sorry, yeah, because to me, I don't know why, but this track is Bruno.
It's Bruno's.
But
yeah,
it's Mark.
Yeah. So but it was cool. So like I said again, I've got like big records up under my belt that I've worked and been a part of. And
did you get royalties on any songs?
No, because I didn't write them.
No,
stuff like that.
Yeah, but sometimes you don't even like just the fact that you're in the room. No, we know how it works.
No, they don't do that in the States.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty positive they don't do that in the States too often.
Okay.
So, but but then sometime, what do you have to do to earn that royalty? Well, in some cases, you'd be like looking at them and you'd be like, remember I told you, I said, for me, I've always walked into it with the same integrity. I'm the same man I walked into it. That when I first walked in this business, a lot smarter, a lot wiser. But as far as like character and integrity wise, I'm still that same person that I look at myself in the mirror every day and say I'm still a man. Yeah. That I've never done anything that I felt like I was be embarrassed or that could come back that my kids would be embarrassed to be like, your father did that. Oh my God, your father was doing, I never felt the need, and I've always been so self-assured of myself that I never needed to go along to get along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've never felt the need that I needed to be a part of. I was like, I tell people all the time, shit, I didn't succumb to peer pressure when I was in high school. So what the hell I look like succumbing to peer pressure as a grown ass man? Now I'd be like, when they come with the peer pressure and they be like, yo, you need to get the fuck out of here. I'm not doing that. I didn't do that shit in high school. Like I look like as a grown ass man doing that.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it?
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
True.
So,
all right.
But that was good. So now I have my own business that it's called the Abris Group. And basically what I do is entertainment consulting. So I deal with everything from music to TV, movies, anything entertainment related, sports, all that stuff like that.
Okay, and you do promotion? What do you do?
Promotion, marketing, consulting, all of that stuff. And with my new adventure to keep myself motivated is that I want to be this bridge to getting a lot of like artists that are in Europe that are like really, really dope. And linking them up with like a lot of artists that may be in the States.
Okay.
And then per se catching them, like it's always easier to catch them when they're first coming up versus when they're already here. Of course. So I see the ones that are just coming up and linking them up with maybe, let's say like somebody that may be already established in the state. I mean, it may be established in Europe or let's say like in France already, but they don't have a base in the US. And then I'll put you guys together so that your base can grow over here in the States and this person's base from the States can grow
in Europe.
In Europe.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm into now.
You're the bridge.
I want to be the bridge.
Yes.
Now I'll get my points and royalties.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Finally.
So
loop is looped.
Yeah.
So what's the future holds for you now? What's the project for you have?
I'm working I do consulting stuff for Atlantic Records.
Okay.
So they have some really good projects that I'm a part of right now that are bubbling in the States really, really good. And then
can you talk about
Yeah. It's artist by the name of OGZ featuring the baby. Called Get Fly. That one's doing really well. It's this other girl by the name of Callie. She has a song called like 3 M's, like you said. And then there's this kid that they had signed out of the UK by the name of Tinian Waynes. Okay. And he had a song featuring Jack Harlow.
Okay.
So it was like a drill record, like a UK drill.
Right.
And then I'm got this other artist that I'm dealing with by the name of Andrew Thomas. He's really like a top 40 pop pop artist.
Okay.
And so he's independent. And then I just did a project help. I'm like more like, it's weird, like, cause I kind of like play like manager almost, like overseer of his project. Pretty much tell everybody, I put all the pieces together that he needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we just got it. He just released a song called Liquor Talking on YouTube and Vivo. And we put it out June 1st. And I think as of today, we're probably like 3.5 million views.
That's good.
You know what I mean? In about a month. And then another artist I'm dealing with, he's based between Jamaica and Detroit. His name is King Jazzy. He has a song out now called Trap Betty Baby, but he's got some other new music that he's doing. And the thing about him is like he was born in New York. And then when he was about, let's say like 9, 10, his mom ended up moving to Jamaica. So he was raised in Jamaica. So now he kind of like has that Jamaican Caribbean kind of like his music is.
Oh, right.
And then he lives in Detroit. You know, he met a girl in Detroit. And, you know, he's back and forth between Jamaica and Detroit. And he has like really good music. And he's also a producer. And then, are you guys familiar with Fred the Godson?
Yes.
So Fred, so you know Fred. So I work with his brother, Fat Boy Izzo, and Izzo's got some really, really, really good music. You know what I mean? And he's dope. So these are some of the projects. So some are major, some are independents. I still like working with independents a lot because they have that desire.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad that I'm in a position where I can still say no, because it's like some stuff that people are like, you want to? No, I'm cool. I'll pass on it. Because I don't know how to half-ass it.
So you only select things that you feel.
Yeah.
That
because then I feel like, you know, it's you know, one of the biggest things you don't get back is time.
Yeah. It's the only thing you don't get back.
Yeah. So you know, money you spend it because it's meant to be spent. So you spend it, you get it. You spend it, you get it. You spend it, you get it. But time, and right now it's like my time. So I got to look at it and be like, what do I really want to invest my time in?
Yeah.
And right now that's working with things that I want to work with that I like. Otherwise, because I done worked a lot of shit I don't really want to be a part of at all.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know.
All right. I think we covered it pretty much all. What do you think? Or you have?
I think so. No, I think we got some. I'm probably, you know, on the way back, I'm probably like, damn, why did I talk about this? Why did I? You know, you always got those.
Yeah.
Why is that? Oh yeah. All right. But yeah, for the most part, I think we covered all. This is the first time I probably really sat down and really like talked about like.
I couldn't find anything. Like the only thing I found was a 4-minute interview on the net, and I was like, "Is this guy serious? Like, that's his legacy. Like, he won't tell no one what he's done in his life, and it's just nah, man. It's not possible. You've done so much that you had to, you know,
like
leave a footprint, and
you know, like I've worked with Robin Thicke. You know what I mean? I've worked with El DeBarge, who became like a super good friend of mine. I worked with Lloyd. Lloyd, the singer, is truly one of the most gifted singers I've ever been around.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that can he be outsung by other artists? Yes, but I've seen Lloyd in a car like wake up from a dead sleep and just wake up and start singing. You know, where a lot of times if you're around certain singers, they'll be like, I need a little honey, I need some tea, El DeBarge has one of the most iconic, unique voices in the world. That, you know, if El sings a song, you don't have to guess who he is. You just automatically know his voice. You know, I had some problems. Look how many times his stuff has been sampled with the Biggie, you know what I mean? All in the Shanti and all the rest of the other stuff like that. Like, I've been blessed. I've been blessed to meet Barry White, you know, before he passed away. That was when I was at A&M, because that project that he did, telling me this, telling me that, I forget, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That record I was a part of that. project. See, now you got me thinking. So Barry White, I've been a part of Carrie Hilson.
Okay. What happened to Carrie? Like,
she's acting now.
Yeah, because she was like the whole B situation, and you know.
So she was, and then the original Pussycat Dolls. You know, seeing them, and then who else have I been around? It's been a
lot.
It's been a lot. Really cool friends with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd's funny. Floyd's a genuine person. Floyd is. You know what I will say about this business and being around it is that a lot of times the bigger the artist, as big as some of these artists are, the bigger the artist, usually the nicer the person.
Really?
It'd be the ones that you're not going to remember, you know, from Gone to November. If this was January, you wouldn't remember them by November. Those are usually the headaches. But the ones that have had like lasting careers or whatever like that are usually like extremely nice. Like they're like the nicest ones, and the ones that usually want to work or whatever like that. So I knew Kanye before Kanye got on, so I've been knowing Kanye for a long time.
Okay.
I've been knowing Kanye before I've been knowing Kanye. To tell you how long I've been knowing Kanye before he even had the accident when he broke his jaw from the auto accident.
So
I remember seeing him when his jaws was wired shut.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's way back. Insane.
Yeah.
So what do you think of
Kanye now?
Now, yeah. What?
I think he's an asshole.
Okay.
I think he's an asshole. I think he's a narcissist.
Okay.
No, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what I think Kanye is. I think Kanye is a spoiled child.
Okay.
And I think that when his mother passed away, it really affected him mentally. But the other thing about him, but you can't deny his talent.
Yeah.
He's a very extremely talented person. But he's an asshole of a person.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So he's kind of an exception where, you know, long-lasting people are usually nice people, but he's like an exception.
But
where
he's an asshole, and just what happens is he just goes away for a minute, and then he comes back. Yeah.
He's smart still.
Yeah.
But okay. Maybe not so smart.
Well, you know.
All right.
Just like, you know.
All right.
I think that in seeing his wife, former wife now.
Yeah.
I think she's an incredible person.
Okay.
I think Kim's like an extremely incredible person. Like, I'm the type of person that, for me, if we're talking and somebody says something about Kim Kardashian, like, I'll be like, nah, you can't say nothing bad about that girl around me. Nothing.
All right.
Nothing.
Why is that?
The reason why is because I think that she takes on issues that she doesn't have to.
Like what?
Like, she's Armenian. A lot of people don't understand. You know, Europeans, they understand Armenian because
yeah.
But you know, the average American be like, they don't know the difference between the Armenian and Albanian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unless you're from the West Coast where there's, you know, a huge Armenian community.
That's right.
In LA. So what happens is, for the most part, she looks white. You know, to the rest of the world, she's white.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, with her being white, and nothing says she has to care about people that are in prison that have gotten raw deals that happen to be like people of color or women or black men, black women, Latinos, or whoever it may be. She could live in her celebrity and could be like, that's not my business. I don't care. Like, she don't have to do any of that stuff. She doesn't have to care about any of it. You know what I mean? But she does. Yeah. And she uses her position that she's in of celebrityism to bring light, to shine it upon these issues that or whatever like that. So that's why, like, a lot of times when you see these rappers or you see these people and they're like, yeah, you know what? I keep it real and I do this for the community. I'll be like, yo, ain't none of you guys doing. Not even her own husband went out there to do what she's doing. You know what I mean?
True.
And you turn around and look at it and you be like it's times what her families I know around like LA where they've gone like down into like Watts and South Central, and they live so far away from there that, you know what I mean, that they shouldn't even have to care, but they've gone down and they've rebuilt playgrounds and, you know, did X, Y, and other things. And they do it without looking for the notoriety.
Yeah, because here we don't even know about it.
Yeah. And like even a lot of people in the States don't even know about it. So they don't do it for the notoriety. And like at the end of the day, when she really earned my respect was when Trump was president, and then she went over there and she basically, you know, asked him, you know, can you please put this in a position to help let these people come home that were maybe wrongly judged or got more than enough time because they weren't white and they're black, and, you know, can we put this law into place? And, you know, Trump, of course, being in a position that he's always looking for ratings and looking to be that guy, you know, can you imagine the pill? I always look at it and say, can you imagine the pill she had to swallow to go stand over there to take that picture with him and, you know, and act like, you know, whatever it may have been.
Yeah.
But she put herself before. She made the cause bigger than her.
Yeah.
That she was like, okay, I'm willing to go stand over here next to this pig right now, this fucking asshole. But if he's going to do what I need him to do, then I'll stand here and take this picture with him and let people assume whatever it is. Yeah. So that's why I said for her and people like that, you know, you just don't talk bad about them because they've done more and they're doing more than the average person that's in a position. Because you don't hear about Jay-Z doing that.
That's true.
You don't hear about.
But he's doing things as well. Well, okay.
You don't hear about Jay-Z doing that. You don't hear about Kanye doing that, and that's her husband.
Yeah.
You know, only thing you hear him about doing, he damn near giving Trump head. Oh, you're the greatest thing that I ever seen.
Yeah.
You should be like, like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, you know, you see these type of situations. You don't see other artists that are out there doing, or other people in positions or entertain. I'm not even gonna say artists. Let's say like other entertainers that are, you know, that are doing this or doing that, or you don't see anybody else that are on that platform that look like the people that are being locked up.
Yeah.
Or whose rights are being taken away that are getting out there fighting for it. So that's why I said, because of that situation alone, you know, she'll forever be blessed. God will forever bless her and her family.
Okay.
She'll forever be blessed because of that. Because she's doing things that she's not looking for. Because how can these people ever repay her?
Yeah, they couldn't.
They can't.
Yeah.
Monetarily, they can never repay her.
Yeah.
They can never. And she's not asking for them to do anything. That she's using her celebrityism to the point where I know at one point there's a car service that's Uber's main competitor in the States called Lyft.
Yeah.
That she was saying she had worked out a deal with Lyft that if you were like ex-con or had just come home from jail and you needed to get to the job and you may not have the money, where Lyft would actually take you for the job interview and bring you back.
Okay.
So she was using her celebrityism for that. So how can you be ever mad or speak bad or speak ill about a person like that? Like, you know, sometimes you hear people be like, oh, them girls are whores and this. I'd be like, for whores for what? Who? Yeah, they may have had a lot of boyfriends, but you don't see them having multiple boyfriends that are like, you know what I mean? Like, well, she's dating this one and she's messing around with this one. Like the true definition, like she just.
Well, the thing with Kim is that it all started
with Ray J.
With Ray J.
But you turn around and look at it with Ray J. That was a moment between her and her boyfriend.
Yeah, but it was on video and then it was on the net. So yeah, it's like,
but so my whole thing. So was Paris Hilton.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Paris.
And who's bigger, Paris or Kim?
Yeah, but I mean, look at Paris image.
Yeah,
like, you know.
Yeah.
So you just put them in the same bag, kind of. You know,
right.
That's human perception. You know.
And then you turn around, you look at it, and you just be like, yeah, it was a moment between them.
It takes, you know, it takes effort to think, you know, further than what you see and what's given to you. Do you see what I'm saying?
And the craziest thing is we're in a society now where people don't want to think.
Exactly what I'm saying.
They just want to be told.
Exactly.
I feel like people are sheep versus shepherds now. They want to be told. You tell them, you know, and it's funny because I always tell, like, especially like Black Americans, there was once a point in time in American history where that if you knew how to read or you knew how to write, you could be killed just for being able to be literate.
Yeah.
And now you know how to read, and you know how to write, and you still don't want to read shit.
Exactly.
That's the crazy thing.
That's the crazy thing. That's the world we live in.
That's the world we live in. Social media has taken it by control.
Yep.
And held on to it.
Yep. All right. Well, I think we wrapped it up now. I have one last question.
Sure, shoot. Let's go ahead. More?
It's just one question, I swear. Because I see Nizar wants to go to bed now. It's like, you know, all the kids maybe wants to go to bed. Yeah, probably. Who do you think I should invite on the show next? If there's one person you'd like to hear from, like the story, and you know, it'd be interesting.
I think Steve LaBelle has a good story.
Oh yeah,
Steve would be good. Steve has a good story. I talked about him earlier, and I told you he's my son's godfather, but he used to be my boss when I was at Geffen by the name of Doug Daniels. Dougie got a hell of a story. Like he has a story to the point where he used to work with Whitney Houston.
Okay.
He worked with Anita Baker. He's worked with Brandy. He's worked with Pink Floyd.
Oh.
Like he's worked with like Mick Huckabee from Simply Red.
Okay.
He's worked with like a plethora of people. He started out with he remembers when Puff first brought Bad Boy into Arista. So he's got a story.
He's got a story to tell.
So
okay,
I'll definitely hook you up with him too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. All right, Adam, we finally get to the end of that amazing episode with some mad stories. Merci Nizar, thank you Nizar again for the link.
For definitely linking us.
For linking us, 100%. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
True.
All right. Peace.
Au revoir.
Nous voilà arrivés à la fin de cet épisode. Si vous y avez trouvé quelques pépites, merci de le partager à tous ceux qui, comme vous, cherchent à exceller. Et bien sûr, pensez à vous abonner et à mettre 5 étoiles. C'est votre contribution qui va aider ce podcast à continuer de vous apporter, toujours et encore, les plus grands architectes qui œuvrent depuis la face cachée du succès. Moi, c'est Dasset et je vous retrouve la semaine prochaine pour encore plus de conseils avisés et d'inspiration. Portez-vous bien.